Hi there.
How we doing?
Not too good to be 100% honest.
Oh,
Finally, an honest caller. Finally, someone who calls in and some of these people call in. They're in this she's awful debt situation, and they sound so cheerful. Dave or one of his hosts will say, "So how you doing?" They're like, "Oh, I'm doing just great, Jack." And then it's, "Oh, and by the way, I'm $400,000 in student loan debt. My wife left me, and the dog got hit by a car." Okay, I'm not, well, hopefully not that, but you know what I mean. It's just kind of like it's okay to say you're having a bad day. We don't have to pretend that it's just all great. So, kudos to the caller for being honest. All right.
thank you so much for being honest. What's up?
Um, so my husband and I have been married for 4 years, and he has a son from a previous marriage, and it's a really bad, it was a bad divorce. My stepson's almost 10, and they're still in a custody battle, and I found out that my husband, well, we lived out of state, and we moved 3 years ago to be closer to his son, and that was a horrible decision because we don't have any family, but my husband has racked up about $200,000 in debt to his attorney.
Oh, everybody. Okay, inhale and exhale. Woohoo! That was some serious tea, and that took her 46 seconds, and that doesn't even count. That's after saying the hello. Okay, for those of you walkers out there, because I know some of you be walking to this, so you can't see the screen. I believe it's John. Okay, he's got his head on the desk, and is it Ken? Ken looks like he needs some medication for some upset tummy, and I'm just sitting here drinking my mango drink. Wow, 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 wow. I can already predict where this is going. Okay, she doesn't like the son. I can already predict that she and the son, her husband, her new husband, her stepson, they have not built a relationship. And 10 is a very awkward age. Okay, I come from divorced parents. Okay, divorce at these days is a dime a dozen. I mean, it's never, don't get me wrong, divorce is not a dime a dozen when it's you. All right, so, because I've been divorced, so don't misread that. But what I do mean is, as far as, it's so prevalent everywhere now. Okay, but I think that's probably because people are living longer too. It used to be, what was it in the olden days? If you were 60 and you were still with someone you didn't like, you could pretty much be assured that one of you was going to be gone with, next 5, 10 years. Now you can be together at 85, 90. All right. Wow, that's a lot. I hope I think she said she didn't know about the debt, but it's the relationship with the son. She has two big, big hurdles, and I suspect already they should have been addressed. At least the money one should have certainly been addressed before she got married, but the son one had to have absolutely been addressed. Wow.
Oh my.
And he's on a payment plan of $12,000 a month.
Oh, oh my goodness. There's not enough mango in this juice with Greek yogurt. Oh, okay, guys, I don't usually do this. We're just going to run this part one more time. Bear with me. If you want to see it uninterrupted without the yakking and the gabbing, it'll be in the description. Just one more time. One more time. Here we go.
Years, and he has a son from a previous marriage, and it's a really bad, it was a bad divorce. My stepson's almost 10, and they're still in a custody battle, and I found out that my husband, well, we lived out of state, and we moved 3 years ago to be closer to his son, and that was a horrible decision because we don't have any family, but my husband has racked up about $200,000 in debt to his attorney.
Oh my.
And he's on a payment plan of $12,000 a month.
Oh.
And this was all a surprise. I had no idea. I knew something was up, so I went into his email, which I shouldn't have done, and I saw the bill, and I felt like I was going to be sick.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I told him this morning I wanted a divorce.
She sounds sick. She sounds ill. Now, some people could say, well, the good side is, if you can find any, he obviously clears money to pay $12,000 a month. But $12,000 a month, even on the best income. Wow. And even if he had the money to clear the $12,000, it's the fact that she didn't know. Even if he had the money to clear it. Obviously, if he's on a payment plan, $12,000 a month, it appears he can pay it. So he's got quite a shovel, but Damn. You know, oh, my Lord, my Lord. Okay, all right. What's that mean? Damn. Okay.
I mean, we've just been fighting all the time over this.
This really this kills the romance. This really kills the romance. Nothing like, oh, here's my $200,000 debt you didn't know about that goes to my attorney at $12,000 a month. And here's the thing. It's more than just the $12,000 a month. Let's just, we'll just look at that as dollars, okay? Yep, okay, that's the dollar figure that goes out. It's the legal liability that he is involved in that she is unaware of as his wife. And that, to me, would be where the even bigger injustice would be. It's, yes, the $12,000 a month going out the door is quite one thing. But like I said, somebody could say, well, apparently he can afford it, so he's making a whole lot of money. But let's put that dollar aside. It's the legal jeopardy, the legal contracts, the legal involvements that he is in, that she, as his wife, is fully unaware of. She could wake up one day and find herself in court over some lawyer bill contract she was absolutely clueless over. You see? That's where I would be the most angry. Is basically, you put me in a legal situation. You didn't give me, as your wife, you didn't give me notice, or as your future, going to be your future wife, you didn't give me notice that you had these legal contracts. And perhaps if she had known this wouldn't be anything she would have divorced over, you see? But the fact that you didn't tell the person, hey, I have a legal bill to an attorney at $12,000 a month. What would happen if the husband, okay, God forbid, dropped dead, and now the attorney, she winds up in court, and she's like, what am I in court for? Oh, well, your deceased husband owes $12,000 a month towards this legal bill, and now, lady, as his wife, pay up. Turn over your house, turn over your IRS tax refunds, turn over your paychecks. That, to me, is where the biggest egregious wrong has been done. It's the legal liability he basically set her up for that she has no way to even know. And had she known about it at the beginning, and he had said, hey, honey, $12,000 is, this is the attorney, here is the contract that we have, okay? She might have been able to deal with that. Because like I said, he's clearly making a lot of money. And this doesn't even touch on the relationship with the child, which is the even greater issue than that. These are almost two non-negotiables. Two non-negotiables is the way I see it. The first is the legal jeopardy you put that person in, and you don't tell me about it. Basically, we could hit a brick wall, and I would have no idea the wall was coming, but you knew, but you didn't tell me the brick wall was coming. Okay, these liabilities, these debts. And then the second non-negotiable is the relationship with the child. You cannot, and my parents, like I said, are divorced, okay? But when they remarried, they remarried people with kids. At least my mom did, okay? You can't kick the kids to the curb, not at 10 years old. You can't even kick them to the curb when they're adults. They are a part of the family. There is no kicking the kid to the curb at any age. Okay, and I want to thank my parents, because when they got remarried, I should say my step parents. Okay, love my stepmother. She's my mom. I even hate using the term stepmom, because I feel like, but I just do that so people understand the family tree. But to me, she is as equal as my late mom. There is no difference. I call her mom. So she did not kick me to the curb when she married my dad, almost 40 years ago. Okay, these are two non-negotiables. I can see why she wants a divorce. I would too.
For the past 3 years, while he's been fighting for custody, and he told me that he's not going to stop until he gets full custody, and I had no idea he was filing for full custody, and I don't want full custody of his son, because I'm...
Okay, right there. This marriage needs to be ended. When you marry someone with kids, there's always a risk that you're going to become a full-time parent. Okay, you marry somebody with kids. What happens if one of the parents unfortunately passes away? You can't marry somebody who has kids, okay, minor children, and it's not so much of an issue when they become adults, of course, but when they have minor children and you marry somebody with minor kids, you are marrying the kids just as well. That is a non-negotiable. And I don't even have parents, and I'll tell you, that is a non-negotiable. You know, I marry somebody, okay, they have joint custody. We're dealing with minors, of course. The other parent passes, they become our full-time custody. And if that is something that any man or woman cannot handle, I don't fault them for that. There's no blame in that, but don't marry. And be honest with yourself. You cannot marry somebody and say, well, it's only conditional as long as the kid stays on the other side of the block 75% of the time. Nah. When my parents married, the four of us girls lived with my mom. Okay, my dad remarried to the best woman ever. And then, don't get me wrong, I love my late mom too, but man, my stepmom is just something else. Absolutely love her. And then when my dad remarried, I was losing my train of thought. Okay, so my dad remarries. All four of us girls were living with my mom. But then it was decided that, for the convenience of both, but of all parties involved, two of the kids went to go live with my dad. And two of them, they had a high school out there that they really wanted to go to. It was just easier. So I couldn't imagine my stepmom going, oh, no. Those two kids ain't coming over. No, they wound up living there full time. She accepted them. Just that you can't place conditions on, in my opinion. And I'm not even a parent, okay? But to me, if I marry somebody with children and they have minor children, I'm sorry, their home can at any time, their home situation can change at any time. Their living situation at any time. Okay? And if that is something that an individual, she doesn't even appear to like the kid. Forget how she feels about the husband. Her tone towards the child is almost one crap, we're only in this a minute and 22 seconds. Oh my God, I got so much to say. People's tones and words say a lot. Sometimes in just a few minutes, because this came as a total surprise to me. I was not thinking it was kind of going in this direction. All right, but you cannot marry somebody and then put conditions on how the kids are going to live there if the time comes that they need to be there all the time. But where the husband did her wrong was not telling her what he was legally trying to do. Because the other thing you also have to consider, and I hate to say it, but it is a money show, okay? She's thinking about where her money's going, and she's thinking, okay, the child lives there, at least for the time, and yada, yada. And then she's finding out everything's being blown to try to get full custody of his kids. And we know statistically, what it's like for a man to get full custody of the kids. She had a right to know this, because with her having a right to know this, then she had the right to decide if this was the right relationship for her. There is no fault in being able to say, I don't want minor children. That's no fault. Okay, fine. You go your way, I go mine. No hard feelings. But there is fault when you don't tell the person you want to marry, hey, I'm going to spend every last dime that you and I bring in so I can get my son here. So, and this is completely the fault of the father. 100%.
I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I would have to be the one to deal with him, and he has some developmental issues. I don't know if I'm allowed to say what they are, but he has a lot of behavioral problems.
So he has special needs. He has special needs that, perhaps he doesn't work mainstream. And something she needs to consider about, I'm assuming she knew this. But that's quite an assumption to assume that he's never going to live with you. And like she was saying, she'd have to be a stay-at-home mom to a special needs child. Would she be prepared, might never, ever be fully capable of living on his own. That happens sometimes.
And I can't take that on, and I don't know what to do.
And I don't blame her for not taking that on. I'm not mad at her, okay? I am not mad at her one bit. And there'll be people go, oh, well, she's just selfish. I'm single without children. You know how many times I've been asked, well, are you selfish because you don't have children? Oh, hell. Go back and look at some of my earlier videos when I first started becoming a reaction channel. Best thing I did was I know my limit. I knew my place. I stayed in my lane. All right. And that's where I continue to travel. so I'm the best I can be for society. She had a right to know all of this. I would divorce too. But in some ways, I have to backtrack and say it's not completely the father's fault. Where her fault comes in is she had to have known this child was special needs, okay? Special needs or not, her fault, if I had to put some of the blame on her, is she should have been honest with herself. Forget the money. Let's put all the money and the attorney stuff aside. Let's just look at the child. Because like I said, these are two non-negotiables. She should have been more honest with herself. Special needs or not, would she be happy living with a 10-year-old boy and raising him? Special needs or not. Something happens to mom, she can't take care of the child, she doesn't want to take him, whatever the case may be. All right? No judgment there. But the child winds up full-time on the door. Could she handle that? And if she knew deep in her heart of hearts she could not handle that, then that responsibility falls on her. She should have been able to tell him, hey, you know what? This isn't for me. And I'm going to go one step further to something else. I don't think I've ever said this much in a minute and 38 seconds. Oh, Lord. Okay. There's a lot to unpack, people. This is like, oh my gosh. Okay, we aren't even 2 minutes in the video. She has said a lot. Here's another thing she's also said. I'm getting all this from a minute and 38 seconds. He clearly makes money if he can pay $12,000, all right? What are the chances are she partly married him because he's very wealthy? If you can afford 12, do the math. I need my Alexa in here. Alexa's in the kitchen, okay? Do 12,000 times 12, okay? Where's my Alexa? No Alexa? Okay, and I'm horrible at math. Do 12,000 by, obviously he's paying over 100 grand a year. 120 grand, 30, 40. The guy makes money. So guess what? That also tells me she thought she could put up with it because the child would be away. Maybe come for visitation. And she could live a really nice life that she wanted to live away from a child she really doesn't seem to give two rips about. And I'm not even sure, okay, I'm not even sure she's really in love with the man. Okay? I'm going to stop short of calling her a gold digger. I'm going to stop short of that. All right? But I do have to wonder, knowing now what his income might be, okay, obviously he makes a lot, okay, if she perhaps, she always knew she didn't want to be an SAHM, stay-at-home mom, and she always knew she didn't like the kid, but the father made enough money, she's like, I can overlook all of this while the child is over there. But now that she's finding out the dad's trying to get custody, all right, now she's like, whoa, wait a minute. This was not the lap of luxury I thought I was going to be living in. Hey, it's a thought.
I feel like crying almost.
Yeah, first one, yes.
Notice she has not once, however, expressed that she had any love for this man. Think about that. So far, of course, we're only a minute and 42 seconds now into it. She's never expressed, oh, I was really in love with this guy, and I was really in love with this guy, and he just broke my heart. We haven't heard anything about that. Just something to think about.
That's the appropriate response. You're in the middle of a hurricane right now. It's a lot. Crying is a smart, good.
Has she taken her husband by the hand and said, I can't breathe. I'm really scared. Just a thought.
Healthy thing to do right now. You've got a lot that you just put out there. What can we help you with today?
Well, I'm almost to the point where I want to just, it's really hard to do the debt snowball when he keeps, this attorney's like $600 an hour. It's some high-profile attorney in like Santa Monica. I don't know how we would do the debt snowball when he keeps adding more money, and I also don't want to pay for this because I feel like as a spouse he should have come to me and said, hey, I'm thinking about getting full custody. What do you think?
Exactly. I'm sure John Delaney's going to go 100%, okay? This would have given her the opportunity to decide if she wants her resources, if she wants the emotional issues, because a bitter divorce. It would have given her the opportunity to decide, does she want to be a part of this? And if she said no, that's okay. But again, I stress, how much of it she already knew. I guarantee it to you, she married this man not liking his son. I guarantee it to you 100%. But the money she thought would be, still worth it.
And
He
so
never
listen,
did
listen.
it.
We call it financial infidelity here.
Mm.
We call it betrayal everywhere. We call it dishonesty. We call it lying. Whatever word you want to call it. But your guts all over your kitchen floor, that feeling is correct. Part of you was stolen. Part of your relationship was stolen from you.
It's a heck of a thing to think, oh, gee, you know what? I could be a full-time stay-at-home mom to a special needs child. If this was not the lifestyle she was looking at, she needs to end it. Like I said, these are two non-negotiables. You can't negotiate the needs of a child, okay? And you can't negotiate someone who's going to put you in legal jeopardy and you don't even know it's happening.
And if I'm him, I don't get the betrayal part. I don't get the dishonesty part. I get I'll go to the ends of the earth for my son. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a conversation you have with your wife, right? Especially to the tune of $200,000. And it's illogical. You can't pay that. And so your feelings are justified and good. What I don't want you doing in the midst of this pain is lobbing grenades back. That doesn't help anybody. I'd love for you to get with some people in your life that you can circle up with and can help you walk through this piece by piece, because there's lots of pieces. This isn't the moment for baby steps. This is the moment for your
How long have they been married?
marriages.
Yeah, I mean, you basically told him this morning you want a divorce, and I understand why you would say that. There's no judgment here, but did you mean it, or did you just throw that out there?
No. This woman meant it. She has no intention of potentially being a stay-at-home mom to a special needs child. No, she meant it. Woman to woman, we women know. Okay? She meant it. Her mind's already made up. All she really needs is she just needs the steps on how to go through it. Her mind's made up, and the kicker is the special needs child. That's the final notch. She might even hang through it if it was okay, a $20,000 divorce attorney, no kids, or kids who were, all raised. But the fact that he has a 10-year-old special needs child and he's willing to go to the ends of the earth, to get him. And again, like I said, what are the odds of a father getting full custody of a special needs child if the mother is proven to be competent? Not saying it's right, okay? And if you've watched me earlier in other videos, when the first reaction videos I made, I said, if I were a divorce attorney, I would defend the father. Don't want to get into it. That's just the way I roll. I would defend the father. That's because of my personal life experience. Okay, I would be an attorney for the dad. So trust me, I'm not trying to be judgmental here. Okay, so.
Well, I mean, honestly, these past 3 years, I've probably threatened divorce. Honestly, it's like every other week.
Yeah, the marriage is over. I've said it earlier in another video. Once somebody threatens with divorce, I'm done. Call it done. My experience. Okay? Once your spouse says, you know what, I think we should just end it. Or your spouse says, you know what, I'm divorcing. I learned that the hard way. Once your spouse says it, I don't give a crap if 15 years happens in between. 10 years happen. Don't care. Once your spouse has said it, it's there. If that's what she's threatening, she doesn't want to be in this marriage anymore. And honestly, in many ways, this is her ticket out.
I'm threatening divorce.
So Ella, let's stop
that.
that. Let's stop that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which also, to some extent, shows her level of immaturity. It does. That's an immature, that's a middle school thing to do. I'm going to divorce you today, I'm going to divorce you tomorrow, I'm going to divorce you next week. No, just effing divorce.
Let's don't threaten divorce anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Either I've reached the end of what I'm going to tolerate when it comes to the deception and getting dragged through the mud and you living a dual life and your dishonesty, all that. I'm done with that. Yeah. Or I'm all in on this, but we have to be all in on this together. Like, you got one or two options. Threatening divorce. Yeah. I mean, it's a weak, childish play.
Amen.
Don't weaponize relationships and make that. Say I'm in or I'm out.
Yeah.
And then once you say I'm out, then it becomes a business transaction.
She's already out. She's going to look for the most that she can get. This was a year ago. This really isn't that long ago. This is just from a year ago. She has left the nest.
And then we're going to go down that road together.
Well, Ella, John's right. We certainly can help anybody get out of debt, but you guys aren't even. We got to reconcile some huge issues here.
Well, and something else to think about the debt. The fact that the husband has $200,000 in debt means he's at the tip of what he can afford. So yeah, he may be what is it they say? It's not what you make, it's what you keep. So the fact that the husband, even though he clearly is a six-figure guy, a multiple six-figure guy, I'm assuming, okay, with $12,000 a month in attorney fees, okay, even that is clearly stretching him if his attorney bill alone is $200,000.
One is he's not going to stop fighting for his son. At least that's his position up to this point.
Right.
So we've got to get clear on that, because you're going, I don't want to parent this kid at the house. Forget the money piece.
Yeah.
The money piece is exorbitant. And
Thank you. I feel like I feel like I've done my audience right, okay? That's exactly what I was saying. These are two completely separate things. These are non-negotiables, each standing on their own.
it's probably going to keep growing. So John's absolutely right. This is a relationship call right now, because then we decide, what do we do with the money? Yeah. I'm just curious, how much money does he make?
Thank you.
Well, he's in the Army Reserves, and he's a real estate agent. So these last 2 years has been really, really good money. But he's only sold one house this month because of everything going up. So,
whoa, he may not make the money that I thought. I was figuring this guy was just making. How's he paying 12? She mean 12,000 or 1,200? I could have sworn she said 12,000. When we get into this, I may play that back one more time. I could have sworn she said 12,000.
Last year he made almost $400,000.
Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, well, I'm feeling better here, because I'm like, God, I could have sworn. Okay, so last year he made 400,000, but we know what real estate is: way up, way down, way up, way down. Very volatile.
And we have nothing to show for that.
Right. Well, your attorney has everything to show for it.
Are you currently paying the $12,000 in the legal fees? Is he paying on that, or is that just racking up?
He's paying with a credit card, so I think it's just racking up.
Okay. We're all just gonna pause. Everybody, just gonna pause. Rub the temples. Whenever you think your day is just not going quite right, whenever you think that that there's too much, that parking ticket you got that you shouldn't have got, shouldn't have gotten, Yeah. Just keep. Oh Lord, keep it all in perspective. Holy cow! Okay, for those of you who are walking, I'm telling you, both of them, all three of us, just look painful. We all look painful. Okay, wow. This is not quite the roller coaster ride I was expecting.
Finances, so I don't know, and I'm a stay-at-home mom, so he doesn't tell me financially. I have no idea.
Hey, Ella,
let me know anything.
Ella, are you safe?
So she is financially blind to anything that's going on, and God forbid, Ella, I think that's her name, do not sign off on his taxes. If you sign off on his taxes, you become legally liable if the taxes should be done wrong. Legally liable. And it doesn't matter if you don't know. You can't claim ignorance. If you sign off on his taxes and it turns out he owes Uncle Sam another $100,000, you're on the hook for it. If you sign off on his taxes. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Safe.
Hold on, I gotta back that up. Hold on.
Mom, so he doesn't tell me financially. I have no idea.
Hey, Ella,
he doesn't let me know anything.
Ella, are you safe?
He's not. I'm sorry.
Ella, are you safe?
He's not physically abusive, but it's like he doesn't. We have an age gap, and it's like he treats me like I'm his child, and
Well, yeah. He keeps everything from you. He doesn't want you to know.
My family wants me to leave him.
Yeah, what are you sticking around for at this point? What are you sticking around for? You don't like the child, okay? So there's a non-negotiable. He has a child. He's not going to give that child up. So there's a non-negotiable. He's going to fight for custody of his child. That's a non-negotiable. And that's just on the child end. Forget all the other sleuthing around.
But I don't want to do that to my kids because I promised myself I wouldn't let my kids go through my childhood.
Hey, you know what? We can make all them promises we want. We can make all, and I promised I wouldn't have 2 bankruptcies. Wait, I don't have any kids. Well, I mean, really, we can make all the promises that we want to ourselves, to other people, but there are times when keeping those promises is really just going to financially destroy us, or emotionally, mental health wise, destroy us.
But I'm 24 and he's 49, or almost 49.
Bingo. I don't like to say that this is hot tea at its best. This is hot tea. 24 and 49. Okay, I'm going to back up. I'm going to say something. She married him for the money. Yeah, she may have thought she loved him. He was able to flash a really nice lifestyle, and she thought she had it made. And she thought the 10-year-old child would just come maybe for an occasional visit. That's what she thought. She married all that glittered. That's what she did. She married all that glittered. She's 24. He's 50. First of all, what the hell is a 50-year-old man hanging out with a 24-year-old? What do you discuss? The latest TikTok? Look, I'm not here. Love who you want to love. I don't care. But in reality, I have to go, what? I'm 56. So let me drop myself down 7 years, and start dating a 24-year-old guy. Okay, what do we have in common? We won't even go there. She married this guy, I guarantee it to you, for the lifestyle. And he was able to impress her based on the lifestyle. But what she's learning as an adult is all that glitters is not gold. And when it comes to saying I do, there are some serious responsibilities that have to be taken into account. And it's not playland. Children are not dolls that, we can just shuffle away when we feel like it. She does hold responsibility in this, without a doubt. He holds the greater part, okay? His age, his experience, all right? But she, too, is also accountable.
Okay. So I am never, ever going to tell, and if somebody's in the midst of unsafe abuse, I'm going to tell somebody to get out. Okay? I'm not going to tell you to pull the trigger here. I don't know necessarily that I agree. I think that there's harder things going on in your home than you're saying out loud. Is that fair?
Yes, that is.
Okay. I want you to call somebody today. And if you've got family members who say, we love you and we're seeing something that you're not seeing, what you're hanging on to is a picture of a fantasy that you created.
Thank you.
Because you don't want your kids to experience what you did, which is beautiful.
All that's gold. Okay, all that glitters is not gold.
And great and good. I'm glad you did that. The reality is your picture has changed.
And that's when promises need to be broken. Some promises aren't meant to be kept. They're just not.
Stop. And now the question is, are you going to hang on to that old picture and drown and bring them with you? Or are you going to create something new?
And break a promise to do it. And that's okay.
ASAP. And most of us, when we're drowning, we cannot get out by ourselves. We need other people. And you've got people around you saying, hey, we're going to help, we're going to help, we're going to help. Please lean on them.
Yeah,
okay?
I agree. And I would just say, Ella, you cannot fix this marriage on your own.
Absolutely not.
Your husband you can't.
She's only 24. I think that's what she said, 24.
Put that glass back together on your own. I think it's not a threat, but I think we got to see if he wants this marriage.
I can tell you right now, he does.
She doesn't want the marriage. I don't even think it matters if he wants it. She doesn't want it because she can't accept the conditions that the marriage would have to be in. And again, that is okay. It's okay. The problem is that this wasn't partly because of her youth, okay? And like I said, this video is only a year old, so partly because of her youth, going, oh, this wealthy man who makes all this money is in love with me. But she probably drove a nice car, lived in a nice house, was, able to eat more than oatmeal, which is what I sometimes have eaten for dinner during my time and trying to get out of, to becoming debt free. All right. I mean, lives that. This is why I've learned not to envy people that look like they are wealthy. I have learned not to envy. Yeah, I mean, I can be, just casually, if it's like, it's nice to have that, but to really be envious, to really think they've got it made, this is what you sometimes get.
My husband is a physician for 21 years.
Why do I already think this is going to be one of those calls where the doctor makes a whole lot of money, but the spending is clearly out of control? Now it says my spouse went $332,000 into debt behind my back. So this is the wife calling in. So this means it's her physician husband that went $332,000 into debt behind her back. Hey, I got this, okay? I got this.
In the past 10 to 12 years, he's been making investments off and on, some that I've known about, some that I haven't. 2 years ago, I found out that he had taken out some loans and credit cards without me knowing, and took out $287,000 in debt to invest in certain variety of things. I found out about it. We paid it all down. We sold the house last year. He said that we sold the house and downsized so we could pay off some of that debt or pay it off. And he told me he wouldn't do it again.
But he did it again because he's got an addiction of some sort.
That he wouldn't make these decisions without me doing it, with my knowledge. And Saturday night, I found out that he had taken $45,000 against his 401k and made another investment in December.
Right there, I'd be ready to get a divorce attorney. Right there, right there. There's one thing after my financial traumatic past that I could not deal with in a relationship. And that is a person who used to be like me, and that is someone who had a spending addiction. Now, luckily for me, it's been a few decades. But that is something I cannot return to no matter how much I might love the person. The spending addiction where there's just, it's out of control. Because if she's not careful, he will take them right into poverty, straight into poverty. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. And the fact that he goes, oh, I won't do that again. You can't spend, you should not spend your relationship monitoring your husband's expenditure on his bank account. This is just how I feel about it.
So, as of Saturday, I've been living in the guest room.
There we go.
And I'm not sure where to go from now. I told him last time he did it, I would leave, but I'm not sure if that's something I should do or not do.
Well, if you stick around, you've shown him that you won't leave, and he'll do it again. If he doesn't solve the core problem of his spending, I don't know if it's a gambling addiction, a betting addiction, I don't know. I mean, there might be people who are addicted to betting on the market, okay? If he doesn't solve the internal problem with himself, then all that's going to happen is he's just going to take her right down with it.
Have you guys seen a marriage counselor?
We went one time, and then last January, and I don't quite remember why we didn't go back. I
probably didn't go back because it wasn't very effective.
Honestly, I don't think he really wanted to go back. I thought maybe we could work it out ourselves, so we haven't. No.
When you're talking about a spouse with a spending addiction, it's not something that can necessarily be worked out, in my opinion, as a partner. I mean, yeah, when I had my spending addiction in my 20s, I had boyfriends, but they weren't directly tied to my income. So in my case, the spending addiction didn't affect another person directly. It only affected me, thank God. But when you're talking with another person directly, just straight marriage counseling, and I've said this in other videos, It's the wrong angle in my opinion. Marriage counseling can be used in conjunction with other forms of health, and that can be obsessive compulsive disorder, psychiatric diagnosis, yada yada. It goes beyond just straight marriage counseling. That, in my opinion, even if I had been married to somebody, that wasn't going to solve the problem. He needs one-on-one help to figure out what he's doing. And this is where it can become very difficult for a spouse to decide, do you stay or do you go? But keep in mind, if you stay, they can tank you financially with them.
So if you were going to call him names, would you say he's a liar or he's arrogant?
See, and the thing is, the reason I have a problem with that, okay, is just me speaking my thoughts here. I had a spending addiction. This guy clearly has an out of control addiction, but it doesn't mean at its root that they're a liar, they're an arrogant. They have an addiction. They have a problem. Do we tell someone who's an alcoholic, are they a liar or are they just arrogant? Okay. The addiction, the lying is a symptom of the addiction. It's not the cause. And so that's why I kind of go, ouch, when Ramsey says, well, is he just a liar or is he arrogant? Yeah, he's a liar. That's a symptom. But let's go deeper and then find out what it is. Oh, there's trauma somewhere. Oh, there's unresolved past issues somewhere. You see? I'm just giving you my 2 cents. It's not as easy as, honestly, if you could just say, yeah, he's a liar, that's it. Well, then wash our hands and on to the next question, right? Otherwise, that'd be like someone saying, well, Carrie, she filed bankruptcy 2 times. Is she just a liar or is she just arrogant? Is she just a bad money manager or is she just careless and irresponsible? Right? Sometimes you have to take a question and you have to change the way you think about it, or you have to change the circumstance. I hope that makes sense. But it would be very easy for someone to look at me and say, well, Carrie, she's had 2 bankruptcies. Is she just stupid? Is she just stupid or is she just, careless? You see what I mean?
He lies to me a lot.
Right. He's going to lie to you because he's got a problem that's deeper even than the lie. And unfortunately, you are the spouse married to him. This is where it gets difficult. And you may or may not have the wherewithal to go through this entire thing with him, which can take months to years to resolve. Let me make no mistake about it. Solving something like this is not done on a marital couch in just a few sessions, fall session and we're all good. Depending upon how far down the rabbit hole goes, this can take years. Me, top to bottom, from the time my shopping addiction first came out to the time I was finally, somebody could say stabilized, recovered, because it never really goes away, it just gets managed. But to the point that someone could say, okay, I think she can handle this. 15 years. 15 years of sheer psychological hell and back. Yeah, not exactly just a simple episode of 50 minutes, right?
About other things?
And oh yeah. Like when I asked him, when did he make that, I found out Saturday he did the 401k. I said, I assumed it was with all the other stuff 2 years ago. And so I kind of went outside, did some yard work that night. We were actually listening to Dave Ramsey on the Principal University Saturday night. And then it dawned on me, I said, when did you take out this loan? Because it's only been paid back $800 in 2 years. I said, when did you take this out? He goes, oh, I don't remember. I said, when did you take out this loan? Sometime in the past, I don't remember. And I looked it up because I figured out where it was.
He remembers. He knows.
It was through his work, and it was December. So, yeah, he's lied in the past. I'll say, hey, did work.
And he will continue to lie. This isn't going to change until he solves what the rock bottom problem is. And here's the kicker. The problem is most likely not her. It's in him. He's got to solve that problem first to be able to fix his relationship with her. Like I said, all this lying is just a symptom.
Go out slow.
About non-money things, does he lie?
Yeah. I'll say, oh, you stuck at work today? He's like, yeah, it was a long day. And then find out later that he actually was out shopping and doing different things. Exactly.
I could shop till the mall's closed. I mean, until, the announcement comes on that says, doors on the side of the mall are locking, in the next 10 minutes, hurry up, get out.
Has he cheated on you before?
Not cheat, no.
What's cheat?
Like affair or anything? No, has not.
What about a history of addiction?
Addiction?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he has addictions. Yes.
The only addiction is this money. He wants.
Okay. The only addiction is this money. It's kind of like when people say, well, I'm completely debt free except for my 6-figure student loan. Well, the only addiction, okay, the word only makes it almost like it's being minimized. Well, the only addiction problem is this money that's like around, more than $250,000 that's going to take up our retirement and sink us. Okay. We should never minimize it by just saying, well, I've got everything paid off except this, $300,000 student loan, or, oh yeah, we have, the only problem we have is just this money that he keeps spending. Well, that's the roof over your head. That's your retirement. It's your financial security.
Wants to get rich quick. Addiction is shopping at discount stores and bringing home. I mean, he has like 25 water bottles. You know what I mean? Refillable water bottles.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got more crap that he's probably brought home that you didn't even know about.
He has addiction of it's a good deal, so I've got to get it.
So this, you called to ask a question about money, and I'll pipe in. And then Dave, you've worked with these type of situations for 30 years. This doesn't sound like about money at all. Dave nailed it. This is about deception and lying. And
see, okay, I'll let him finish before I jump in. Hold on.
Really, this is about fantasy. And so
see, I have to respectfully disagree. Okay. Yes, he is deceiving and lying. Yes, he is. But really, it's about an unsolved issue in his life that he needs to dig up, unearth it, bring it to the surface. Okay. That's what it's about. Everything else is just the symptom of it. That would be like somebody looking at me and saying, well, the real problem is that Carrie just shops so much. I mean, she's just always buying stuff she doesn't need. The problem is that, she won't tell you she's really at the mall. No, that was not the problem. And it never was. The problem is I had bones in my closet that I needed to let out. That was the problem. And so long as, people are focusing on just, oh, well, she shops too much. She spends too much time at the mall. If I had been in a relationship, I guarantee it to you. I mean, like a marriage relationship, I had a boyfriend, but like I said, our finances weren't tight or anything. Okay. But like if I had been in a marriage relationship, I would have come home and told you all the crap that I bought. Absolutely not. I would not have told you. So if I'd been with you, okay, I would have made sure you didn't find out about it. But that's the surface. That's what you can see where the problem is. And this is why I say to any spouse, if you are with someone who has an addiction to spending, gambling, things that put your financial safety, your financial future on the line, do you want to stick around? Do you want to stick around for it? God help me, if I had been married, I would not have blamed my spouse after 15 years if they had said, I can't stick around for all this. Sometimes it's the luck of the draw on who you marry, right?
if there's not a history of infidelity also, or also a history of addiction.
And I can tell you a history of infidelity. In my case, that wasn't an issue. I could still be loyal to the guy I was dating and all that. I didn't mix the two. So we have to be careful that just because, someone has a shopping addiction doesn't mean they can't stay monogamous in a relationship, so to speak.
I actually did some research with a group. I called them resistant influentials, which was doctors and lawyers and presidents of things and preachers, folks who were real smart and accomplished in one area of their life, and they like to drag that perceived expertise all the way across. And they ended up with a wake of broken marriages and hurt people as they tried to take what they perceived as this all-knowing power and insight and wisdom into every facet of their life. The real question is, you can't make him stop. And you have this fantasy that it's going to get better, and this is what my marriage is going to look like. And
I guarantee you that it will only get worse. It only gets worse. Think of it like the closer you get. Let's just use me as an example. Okay, we're just gonna, because that's the best example I know how to use. Okay, when my addiction first came out in my early 20s. All right, you could start seeing it. It starts to build and build and build. But then as I went into meeting with a psychiatrist, this is now in my mid-20s, we're solidly in my middle to late 20s, I think 27, 28, okay? As it got closer to the center of what was really eating at me, things fell apart drastically. I mean, like you would have said, bring her back to where she was in her early 20s when she was just a shopping addict. Because this is what I would tell a partner or a spouse, okay, that's dealing with someone who has this type of problem. The closer you get to the mother lode of what the actual problem is, the worse it's going to get. It doesn't get easier. It gets harder and harder, right? Just the spending and the lying about what you're spending, that's the easy part. That's easy. Now start going into psychiatric counseling. Now start dealing with stuff like that, where you may even need to be given medication to help get through your day. Okay, I had what I used to call a cocktail of prescription drugs, all right? The closer you get to what the actual issue is, it just starts to blow up. And I'll be totally honest, I would not at that time have wished anyone to be married to me at that time. It does not get easier. It will get worse and worse and worse.
And at the end of the day, you know this, but whining and nagging, complaining, reasoning, none of those behaviors will make him stop. Nah. He's got to decide it. And so I default back to a psychologist who I love, Terrence Real, who just says, you've got to draw a line. You have to have a "if you don't, this will happen" statement, and then you've got to have done the math on the back end, both spiritually and emotionally and financially, to say, here's my line here.
Bingo. Snaps. Yeah. You have to decide, do you want to stick around for it? Can you stick around for it? Or are you, the one without the addiction, better off letting it go? I may be divorced today, but I'm happy to say that had nothing to do with my past issues in my 20s and early 30s. I was totally unrelated. But seriously, you as the spouse that's watching all this play out, you have to decide, how much money are you willing to lose? How much deception and what's being spent can you put up with? If I told you this was going to take even 5 years of sheer hell, do you want to walk through it? Well, that's if I told you it was going to take 10. It took me 15 years. 15 years it took me. That's how hard it was to get through my addiction and all the stuff and crap that had to be unearthed. Because you got to think of it kind of like, it's like the roller coaster ride. And can you, as the spouse that's watching it, do you want to go on this roller coaster ride? Because it's a hell of a ride. It really is. I, today, could not go on that ride with somebody that was in that frame of mind that I used to be in. I could not do it. And I've said it before. I don't have it in me because I know what it involves and I wouldn't wish it on my best friend. So she has to decide. And she may be better off also, if we want to talk finances, she may be better off, well, Okay, he went $332,000 into debt. She found some more money. She may be, I mean, this sounds crappy, but she may be better off divorcing and convincing a judge why she's not responsible for that debt than she is if she sticks around and then the court says, well, you stayed around for it. So, that was your choice, so you're both responsible for it. Whereas if she leaves, divorces, she has a better leg to stand on to say, this was not tolerable to me. Does that make sense? I hope. In other words, her sticking around could cost her even more than it would be if she decided to divorce. Knowing knowing what's in front of this lady's path, knowing what he can potentially take her on, I would tell her to end the marriage. I would tell her to end it.
But the reality is this is not going to stop. And it clearly is not going to stop, especially, I mean, with the wounds of just coming over $200,000 or $300,000 paying back and then hopping right back in it. And so you're going to have to ask.
That was the second time, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And what I'm saying, exactly. And if she keeps staying and putting up with it, a court can say, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, okay? I'm obviously no lawyer. I don't know anything about the legal system in this regard. But I'm thinking if I were a judge and you put up with it the first time, you clean it all up, and then you put up with again, and you put up with again, and then you come to me at some point and you say, hey, don't make me responsible for this debt. I'm going to say, well, why didn't you, leave, on the first, second merry-go-round, right? I read that once actually years ago in some case. I don't remember what the case was. It's a long time ago. But it was something where the judge said, well, you kept putting up with it. So by your willingness to put up with it, that means it's not that you minded it, but you tolerate it enough that you're still responsible. I can't remember what the case was, but that's where I got the idea from.
So I keep hoping it's going to stop, and it's not. So I don't know what.
And you can hope and hope and hope.
So hope is a fantasy.
I think the thing that's missing out of this is you guys need someone in your life guiding you, and
That's
you
right.
don't have anybody. There's no one that he respects that is looking at him saying, you are a screw up.
Now, he doesn't need that. He needs a psychiatrist. And he might need to be given, as much as I don't like drugs, but I can tell you that it helped me for a period of years. Okay? I've been off of prescription drugs for, almost 20 years. I celebrate every year. Okay? He needs somebody that can help him in that area, and as well, a good buddy friend. But just to have someone say you're a screw up, somebody coming to me and saying, "God, Carrie, you are such a screw up," that would have done crap. Matter of fact, it might have made my situation already worse than what it was. I don't need to be told I'm a screw up. What I need somebody who has the knowledge and the skill to help me sort out what's going on in my head. I don't need someone to tell me that I'm a screw up. I already know that I was effed up. I knew this. I didn't need someone to tell me that. To a normal, healthy brain, you go, man, buddy, what you doing, okay? When you're dealing with somebody who has psychological issues, deep addiction issues, stuff like that, telling them they're a screw up, tell an alcoholic they're a screw up and see where they wind up at, 2 hours later, right? Not saying that's your fault. Okay, we're each accountable for our own actions, but it's not going to help. You could have told me I was a screw up all you wanted. Okay.
You are messing up your life. Mm-hmm. And so a good counselor will gain his confidence, not...
A good counselor along with his private psychiatrist. He needs a private psychiatrist. Somebody who can dispense medication to help try to balance things out as he goes through this. And trust me, I'm not a pill person, obviously. Okay? I've been off of drugs like that for 20 years. But we're talking to get through what he's got to get through. Take maybe that combined with a good, marital counselor combined with a good church. There you go. You got the 3 legs.
not with manipulation, but just with relationship, and earn the right to say that and say, you are screwing up your life and you're going to have to stop this. A good pastor in his...
I've said this before in other videos. It's not going to help. The pastor will make the wife feel better, like something's being accomplished. And, there's nothing wrong with church, and there's nothing wrong with the pastor at church to compliment. It should be used as a compliment. It should not be used as the Holy Grail.
His life, a senior friend in his life, that would sit down and guide the two of you. That also would give you some steps. I would never tell you in a 2-minute synopsis of your life that your marriage is over and you need to leave, unless he's hitting you and then you need to get out of there. But
I would tell you pretty much in 2 minutes the marriage is over and you need to leave. But I'm coming from a very different POV, point of view, okay? Because, see, I know what's in front, and it ain't pretty. If I can, I'd say, okay, I'll make from a kinder, gentler point. I'd say, okay, stick around. And just like they said, draw your line. When that line is crossed, call it done. But make darn sure you have a line. Know where that line is. Because I can pretty much guarantee you he's going to cross it.
No.
Short of that. But, what you're calling about is to...
Oh, and the other thing, too, is when he does go see his private psychiatrist, don't ask him questions when he gets home as to what they discussed. Okay? I did have a boyfriend at the time. He never asked questions, ever. Don't ask questions. If he wants to talk about what they discussed, great. If he doesn't, ignore it. It's between him and his psychiatrist. Don't get all into, okay, what'd you discuss? Nope. He has to unearth whatever the root cause is, and he will unearth it in time. And you have to be willing to accept that you might never even know. This is why I say, knowing what I know, I would not have blamed somebody for not wanting to be around me, to be married to me. I could not argue that.
You're just trying to confirm you're not crazy, and you're not. But you...
No, you are not crazy.
You do need the, but I wouldn't just walk out. I would do some work on this.
Absolutely.
And go get some help. And if he won't go by yourself and get some guidance on how to draw the lines that John is talking about.
Okay. Well, I just actually found a counselor for myself because I don't even know how to approach this anymore.
Exactly.
Good.
So she's going to help me.
Good.
So, and I can't drag him to counseling. So.
No, you can't. No, you cannot drag him to counseling. I used to be dragged to family counseling. I say, oh, Jesus. Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. Make up some crap, just so we can get out of here. Yeah, that was family counseling. That was after my parents got divorced. Oh, God.
So maybe I should start with my own counseling and then...
That's fine, or just tell him
Absolutely. Have your own counseling. Know where your line in the sand is and stand on it. Be firm. But be prepared. Be prepared, okay? He is going to put his addiction over you. Just be prepared for that.
He ought to go. I'm going to a counselor, and we ought to go to marriage counseling also. There's nothing wrong with doing both simultaneously, because you just need some guides, because both of you are, you just got a lot of trees around you, and it's hard to see the forest right now. And so you need someone to walk with you through this and to give you a thing of saying, okay, yeah, here's a map that is logical, a flow chart, if you will, that says if this continues at this point, I am done.
And it will continue, and you will be done. This is why I'm saying, it's really just a matter of how much do you want to stick around for.
But you can communicate that to him then, and you've communicated it once, one time, a long time ago, and then now you've got this one violation. But if it's continually, if there's a drumbeat of this is how this works, this is how this works, this is how that works, and because that's what happens with people, for instance, that are married to an alcoholic, they come to the end that they've done all they're willing to do, and then that relationship's over because of the alcoholism.
look, I can tell you my shopping addiction, had I been married, my shopping addiction would have been more, not that it was more important, it had more control over me than if I had been married, it would have had more control over me than a spouse would. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And it would not have mattered who my spouse tried to hook me up with or anything else. The shopping addiction was going to have the greater control. That is just the way it is.
And that's what's going to happen here. You will come to the end, but you need to come there
with a guide. You've got to have someone to go with.
She needs to go there knowing that she gave it everything she had, so that when she leaves and his life really falls apart, she doesn't blame herself because it's not her fault. Let me repeat that. She needs to get to the point. She needs to get to the point that she herself believes she did everything she could, so that when she leaves and his life falls into disrepair, she will not blame herself because it is not her fault. That's the point that she needs to get to. But she needs to get to that point before he takes everything about her self-esteem down into the gutter with him. See my point?
Guide and with a path of incremental and lots of communication to him, to where he doesn't feel like, here's another example that is a parallel to this. When we have someone on our team out of our 1,000 folks that is not able to do the job or has some kind of a behavior issue in the way they're acting here at work, we don't just walk in and go, surprise, you're fired. We walk in and go, here's the things that you're doing wrong. Here's what you're going to have to not do. Here's what you're going to have to do.
And I totally understand, and they do the same thing. I'm a teacher. Okay, I'm a teacher. They do the same thing with teachers. District doesn't just walk in one day and say, well, you did a lousy job today, you're out of here. It doesn't work that way. Okay. They do a lot of mentoring and, what can we do to help you? Yada, yada. Okay. But here's the thing. Do you want to do all that in a relationship? Do you want to have to spend your time laying out a map for your spouse? Really? It's exhausting. It's exhausting to the I call it the innocent spouse. Okay. The innocent spouse. It's exhausting. Sorry, I was coughing. It's really draining. Is that where you as the innocent spouse want to spend your life earnings? You've only got so many, life hours. Is that where you want to burn your candle out at? This is why I say I don't blame a spouse for saying, I can't do this, or I can't do this anymore.
In order to be able to stay. And then the first time they're half a button off on one of those, we say, whoop, time out.
To me, that would just totally, and I understand what Dave is saying, and I even agree with it, that's, you're laying out your line in the sand, but I'll tell you this, that'll kill romance. There's just something, when you think about, what relationships are supposed to be, to me, that would just be a romance killer. Okay, our relationship is now almost like a parent to child. Anything that takes a relationship where it has to be parent to child and monitoring and behavior modifications. But I understand what he's saying. Yeah, she has to lay out. Look, I'm looking for this, this, and this. So I get it. I understand it, but it's just sad that it has to come to that because it's a real romance killer. I'm just saying, I'm speaking the truth.
We said, remember, you got to get back in the lane. And what we will fire you over is not a singular event unless it's a major issue, but we will fire you over a pattern that is heading the wrong direction, that we have clearly communicated to you. You are heading down a road that leaves here.
And you are putting other people's lives and safety in jeopardy. Okay, when what your spouse is doing is putting the lives of your children, putting the lives of yourself in jeopardy. I'm talking about they're taking an action that literally, you're draining the bank account. We're not going to be able to feed them and clothe them. We're not going to be able to put a roof over our head. That is potentially taking the lives and the safety of family members.
Well, I am currently $85,000 in debt that my husband of 35 years does not know about.
Oh, people. Whoo, the tea. It is starting hot, ladies and gentlemen. The tea is, we didn't even get to simmer. We just went straight to boil and pot overflow. Oh, yes. This is the new hot tea mirror. $7.99 on Amazon, family. $7.99. Cheap backing, but oh well. Oh, my goodness. Okay. $85,000 of debt her husband does not know about. Wow. Okay, well, we're going to hear more before we say any more. Let's just hear it.
And I have just had my oh crap moment when I overdrew my checking account because over 20 years ago we had to file bankruptcy, and at that point my husband and I separated our checking accounts because he is a saver and I am a spender, and I got us into that mess.
He is a saver and she's a spender. I could go on so many different forks right now. I'm going to try hard not to. But people, you've heard me say it on this channel. What have I said on Bedtime Chit-Chat Storytime, family? What have I said? When one is a saver and one is a spender, if the extremes are too... If the division between them is too extreme, where a compromise cannot be met, the relationship is not going to work. If it's just a little extreme, I think I did this a few weeks ago. I said, okay, let's say you like to spend $500 a month on clothes, and I'd rather have you spend $250. Maybe we could compromise, say $300. You still get your clothes, but can we compromise? We can compromise there. But if you like to spend $1,000 on clothes, and I know our budget is $250, and we can't find a compromise that's not going to sink us and still allow us to save for retirement and all of that, we're sunk. And she says she just had her oh crap moment at $85,000. And let me bet, if I'm going to take a guess here, she only has this oh crap moment because she realizes she can't keep up on the bill anymore. It's like a hamster in a wheel, and that wheel's going round and round. At first, it starts off slow, and she can hide everything. I am willing to bet, from a former spendaholic, thank God I was not in a relationship during those years. I mean, I had a boyfriend, but it wasn't anything serious and nothing that tied himself down or myself down. So my spending addiction harmed no one per se. But she said she just had an oh crap moment, $85,000. I'd have had my oh crap moment, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm $10,000 in debt. My spouse doesn't even know. This is where marrying the wrong person really F's you up. They can really take you down financially. This is how it's done.
So now I am door dashing. I'm working my full-time job. I'm selling everything that I have purchased, trying to get out of this debt
and you're trying to get out of it without your husband knowing it. DoorDash is not going to get you out of $85,000 of debt.
I do not want to tell him, and I don't want to ask him to help me. And I can't find, and DoorDash where I live is not that popular because it's just a rural area.
It wouldn't even be popular if you were in Tampa. $85,000 on DoorDash. Trust me, if we could make $85,000 on DoorDash, I would be doing it.
So
how much do you make?
How can I get I make $38,000 a year.
You're screwed. Look, sometimes you just gotta say, I'm screwed. I effed this one up really badly. Let me ask you something, family. Would you divorce if your spouse came to you and said, I have hidden from you $85,000. Sounds like this is in credit card debt, from what I gather, in consumer debt. And I didn't tell you, and I chose not to tell you because I wanted to keep spending. She has a spending addiction. She has a spending addiction that her husband cannot fix, and clearly that's proven. And because this debt was occurred during the marriage, chances are a court would hold them both responsible, even in a divorce. Oh, jeez. You know, take it from a spending addict former spending addict in my 20s. I'm now in my 50s, so it's long gone. Long under control. Decades under control. But take it from a spending addict. This is not a situation you want to put any innocent person who is financially responsible. This is not a situation you want to put them in. I mean, I hate to use the word divorce so much on this channel, but the only reason I use it, folks, is because I've been there. It sucks. It really, really sucks. Yeah. You're 85 grand in the hole and you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me when you were 5,000 down. You didn't tell me when you were 10, 15,000 down. And, maybe we could have worked together as a couple to identify what the problem was. You waited till you're damn near 100 grand in the hole. Come on, let's just make it 85. Let's just make it a cool 100. It's a pebble's throw to 100 grand. That's when you tell me. The other question becomes this, and I'm not blaming her husband. We don't blame the victim, but did she buy a whole bunch of stuff and it kept coming in the house and she only makes around $38,000 a year gross? Did her husband not say, how are you constantly affording all this stuff? How do you afford all this stuff? The other question is this, does the husband have 85 grand to bail them out? And if he has 85 grand to bail them out, he's probably going to have to. And then he's going to have to decide if he wants to stay in this marriage. And the reason I say no to staying in this marriage, and remember, this call just ran yesterday. Now, there is a chance, that he could choose to stay with her. But I have to be honest, my experience, no, because she has shown this addiction is out of control. This is no different, folks, than staying with a gambleaholic, an alcoholic, a drug addict. That she needs her fix. She is going to take them straight down into retirement poverty where they will not have the ability to retire. Now, good on her. She acknowledges they filed bankruptcy. I think she said she was the cause of it, yada, yada. Okay. But what have I said to you, family? Addictions are not solved by a date on a calendar. Addictions are only solved when you can get the mind to change. And like I said, it can take years, decades to get the mind to change. Wow.
Becky, what's the $85,000? What kind of debt is it?
It's all credit cards.
Yeah. She's a shopping addict. I know. Yeah. So she's a shopping addict. She shops for stress relief. She shops for emotional relief. She shops like people overeat, like people gamble, like people drink, like people do drugs. It's her escape. Now, I'm not blaming her husband on this, but I am going to say it also says something about the state of the marriage, too. But here's the thing. When I was a shopping addict, even if I had been married, it would have had nothing to do with my husband. It would have had nothing to do because he wasn't a good enough husband or he's not a good man. No, it's literally me. That's like saying I'm causing someone to drink too much. Okay? No, it's me. I am the problem. I have a shopping addiction, and my shopping addiction, until it is fixed, I can't have a relationship with someone that's effective until I fix my shopping addiction. Unfortunately, her husband's now going to realize that. You may love your wife, but she has a serious shopping addiction. And an addict is going to find a way around every safeguard you can put in. Don't sit there and tell a shopping addict, cut up the credit cards, go to FPU. No, not going to fix it. Yes, they can do those things to start to band-aid the problem, but the real issue has to come from them in their head. I feel horrible for her husband. This is how the person you're married to can really sink you financially. Big time. And you don't even know it. Yeah, I would divorce. Yeah, I would.
Wow. And what are you buying? Like what's
stuff, if she even remembers it.
On the bills?
I was buying anything and everything I wanted. If my kids wanted something, which they're now grown, I would buy them something. If my mom needed help, I'd just give her a credit card.
Wow. So you just gave your mom a card too. Yeah, I would divorce you. Yeah. When you're with someone who has an addiction that jeopardizes your financial well-being. It jeopardizes the roof over your head. It jeopardizes your transportation, which jeopardizes your ability to get to work. It jeopardizes your future ability to retire. I'm not talking the little stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even talking $5,000. Oh, honey, I spent $5,000 at Macy's and I shouldn't have. Okay, we can work with that. As long as it don't ever happen again. We can work with that. Okay, I'm talking when you've already been bankrupt once because of a shopping addiction. And I believe she said that, family, that this had already happened 15 years ago. And that sounds like a long time till you realize you can file bankruptcy every 10 years. So we're barely out of the 10-year mark to file bankruptcy. And she does it. She's going to have to do it again, most likely, unless her husband bails her out. When the actions of someone puts your financial security at risk, that's not someone you want to be married to. It's not.
Okay.
What made you wake up today and go, I'm done with this?
Yeah, did you hear what she said? She said uncontrollable spending. Yeah. And then to give the freaking card to your mother? You know, if I were to divorce her, I would ask the judge not to make me responsible for it, especially the card that she gave to her mother. If it's all done without her knowledge. Wow. So her mother had a good time on it too.
When I overdrew my checking account paying these minimum payments on these credit cards.
You see, the minimum payment. This is the minimum payment, which we don't know what that is yet, but she can't keep up on that. And this is the way debt works, family. This is how debt works. You can run up all these cards, and it's fine for a while because the minimum payments are controllable. A $5,000 card has a $50 minimum payment, right? I'm just throwing out a number. And you just keep running up all these debts. You keep running them up. And pretty soon you can't even make the minimum payments. And that's when you know you're really in trouble. But the problem is you were in trouble long before it got there. You can't pay the total balance. It's not the minimum payment that matters. It's the total balance.
And are you paying any other bills right now? How are your finances going with your husband if everything's separate?
See, so the husband knew, and I guarantee you the husband's going to blame himself too. The husband's going to go, I shouldn't have stayed with this woman. And guess what? The husband would be right.
Our house is paid for, thankfully, because of him.
Yeah, now they're going to have to probably take out a loan against the house to pay off her debt. Potentially.
And I pay my own car payment and cell phone bill.
What's your car worth, and what do you owe on it?
I owe $15,000 on it, and it's worth about $10,000.
And was that one of the things you were planning on selling?
I don't see how I could because I don't have the $5,000 to make up the difference.
Is the 15 wrapped up in that 85 you mentioned, or is that outside of that?
No. My husband knows about the car payment.
So you got $100,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah, $100,000. Yeah, with the car.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so
she needs to tell her husband, and she's going to have to accept the consequences of her actions. Even with the selling, even if they take care of this debt, her problem is not solved, and her problem is she has a spending addiction. She has an out of control spending addiction that she has not ever come to grips with. So they can pay this off again, right? But in some ways, her husband staying is just fueling her addiction. He's a financial safety net. She needs to hit rock bottom. This is not going to get her to hit rock bottom. If her husband comes in and pays off the bill. They have kids, but I think she said the kids were grown, if I'm correct. Or something like that, or near grown.
So Becky, you do realize you're going to have to tell him.
I don't want to, but...
Well, hold on.
You think you're going to go to the grave and he doesn't know this ever happened.
Well, and here's the thing. If they ever go for a refi, if they ever go to purchase a car, if there's ever any sort of reason why credit has to be pulled up, could you imagine the look on his face? when there's a denial, and he's like, wait a minute, all you have to do is pay for a $15,000 car and a friggin' cell phone bill. What's the problem? This woman is spending so far beyond her means. This is spending addiction. This is what spending addiction looks like, family. When you have a spouse who cannot control their spending, they take themselves down, and as that pool gets bigger and bigger, the more debt they get into, they take you down, and they suck everybody down. The fact that she gave her mother a credit card, wow, that part just boggles my mind. It's like, are you trying to buy love? Do you feel, you're not accepted, so you're trying to buy love somewhere? I've never given anyone a credit card. Never had anyone give me a credit card. But this is what being married to a financial shopping addict looks like. This is perfect example. And then you, as the innocent spouse, what you have to decide is, do you want this type of relationship? Is this the relationship you want? And then you, as the innocent spouse, totally aware, totally informed, this is the relationship, and you choose to stay. Don't be surprised when you can't retire. Don't be surprised in another 10 years when this comes up again. She has not solved this problem. And from what I can tell, she's nowhere close to solving it because of the fact that she's calling in to try to hide it. At least that's the impression I'm getting. She's not calling in so she can come clean to her husband. He is going to find out about it. It is impossible for him not to find out about this.
Well, I would do just about anything to stop it because, like I said, I got us in a really bad situation 20 years ago, and he's not this type of person. He's not a spender. He's a saver. He paid our house off early.
I just can't imagine.
And people can sit and they can say, oh man, she's just not appreciative, which is true. She's not appreciative of it. But just like any addict, their addiction will supersede any appreciation they have for someone else's efforts. Until she decides that she doesn't want to be an addict anymore. Until she decides that, she's got too much to lose. Okay? And until this going on up here changes, no, he's just going to be supporting an addict. And that's why I say it's time for him to get out.
Imagine having a healthy marriage going forward while you keep this secret.
You can't. Yeah, I mean, your marriage will not be where it could be ever.
The marriage is probably dead, to be totally honest, and that's why she doesn't want to tell him. The marriage is probably dead.
Secrets, right? And that's financial or otherwise. Because there's a part of you, Becky, when you hold those kind of secrets and you're trying to be the one to fix it all on your own, which I'm not saying you shouldn't. I mean, like, we can get to that discussion in a little bit, but that's going to come out other ways, like within your body. I mean, like you can't, humans are souls. We can't carry that around. It will come out sideways one way or the other.
Or it's going to wind up on some 60-second TikTok, because trust me, half of those TikToks are people who've tried to hold a secret and they just can't hold it anymore, right?
And so coming clean for you, Becky, and not even just for him to have the knowledge, for you.
It will eat.
One of the things, yes, it will eat her alive. One of the things that I would do if I were her, take it from a former shopping addict, before she tells her husband, this is something I would do. Because, yeah, she's going to have to accept he may choose to divorce her. And, all the begging, pleading, crying ain't going to solve that, okay? Been there, done that, all right? Never again. But one of the things that I would do if I were her is I would be setting up counseling appointments where I'm going to be dealing with my shopping addiction. In other words, I go to my husband, one, I come clean, but two, I immediately, right then and there, tell him what I have started doing. I'm not saying this won't change his mind in divorcing her. Knowing what I know now about, what it's like to live in debt and all of that stuff, I don't know if it would change my mind. It probably wouldn't, but it's better than just going, hey, I've run up $85,000 in credit card debt I chose not to tell you about. And only when I couldn't meet the minimum payment, it's going to be like, you can't even meet the minimum payment? What the heck is the minimum payment? You immediately say, I'm aware I screwed this up. Here's what I'm doing right now. I am in counseling. This is my doctor. This is what I'm going to counseling for. In other words, Show up with the problem clearly, but also what are you doing to solve it? And she needs to come clean about her mother, giving a card to her mother too. You can't ask the mother to pay it back though. If you gave her the card and said, "Here, mom, have a good time with the card," you can't now turn around and tell mom she needs to pay it back. So going to your mother and saying pay it back, that's not an option in my book. Okay? It's just not an option. If she's going to do anything to try and solve this marriage, she's got to show her husband that, what is she trying to do to solve her spending addiction? But like I said, that may not necessarily save the marriage. In my case, would it work at that point? Probably not. Just because, guys, I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been on the debt side. I've been on the bankrupt side, debt, bankruptcy, bad financial relationships. And then I've been on this side, debt-free. Debt-free. HOA dues at $450 a month paid until January 2025. $2,500 savings account. $1,600 a month into retirement. Holy cow, give me this side any day. Condo paid off. This side, it's like $110,000 student loan forgiven in 2022. A leased car that I can afford, that I could buy if I wanted to, I just don't want to. This side is so much better. I never want to cross that line again. And I will share my side with someone that I love. I will share everything that I have. And yeah, it may not be a lot, but it's sure as heck steady. I will share it. And what will one day be a 30-year teacher pension on top of it. 12 years to go. I will share everything I have with someone who has the same ideology that I have about money. That's what I will do. Her and her husband, they are on, she cannot be the wife that her husband needs her to be. And you got to remember, she said was 20 years ago they did the bankruptcy. They're now 20 years older with kids that are raised. I think she said kids that are raised. Pardon me if I'm wrong on that. They're now 20 years older. They are that much closer now to retirement. What's he looking at? What type of retirement is he looking at? Wow.
You alive.
For you can't carry this secret around. It has to be taken from the darkness of inside of you to the light. And it is going to be an excruciating conversation.
And she needs to be prepared that he may say, "I'm going to bail us out for his own sake, and I'm done with this marriage." And I wouldn't blame him if he did. They are 20 years older. They're 20 years closer to retirement. He can't have someone pulling him down as he's trying to pull himself up. And, I would say minimum retirement plan, minimum. Like I said earlier, I started planning a retirement pension in my 30s. I'm an 18th year teacher, third generation, but that was planned in my 30s. So if he's the saver, he's looking long term. He's looking, okay, where are we going to go? And then he's got this crap following him behind. Yeah, that doesn't work. She needs to accept the consequences.
But I think for any way for you to move forward, not just financially, but in other areas of your life, Becky, you have to bring him into this or someone else. If you have a good friend.
Even if she wanted, if they were to divorce, okay, let's just say he doesn't know about this. If they were to divorce, credit reports would be pulled. This is nearly impossible to hide. And now day and age, you can get all your credit reports pulled and everybody can see everything, right? They can see everything you've done. It is impossible to hide this for forever. And if she can't even make the minimum payment, nah.
And who knows you both well, maybe even going to a third party first and having them sit in with you if it's too difficult because of, your history. But whatever that looks like, I really would encourage you have to tell somebody, and then eventually you have to tell him and have this conversation. And Becky, and I want you to do some good work too. I'm like, we'll get you some Dr. John Deloney material too, because there's some real stuff going on, Becky. Like, I know, like, when you look at those numbers on your screen and you realize, holy crap, I can't even keep up the minimum payments with what I'm doing.
See, and a shopping addict doesn't worry about the total balance. Like I said earlier, all a shopping addict worries about is, can I meet the minimum? And this is why the balance can get so high, because as long as I can meet the minimum, it's like, hey, no problem. I could run up every credit card that I have. Okay. I have access to almost 6 figures of credit card access. I have really good credit, stellar credit. Okay. 0% interest, yada, yada. I could run that up and I could make the minimum payments on all of it. Even if I ran it all up, I could make the minimum. But the problem is, it's not the minimum. It's what does it take to get out of the entire balance. If I were her, I'd probably tell them in a public restaurant somewhere with some quiet music.
That's your old crap moment. But there's a lot of other stuff, Becky, going on that caused this, right? And I mean, I don't know if there's a level of a shopping addiction. I don't know if it's really poor boundaries that you've set with people, a sense of not living in reality, right? Like, there's all these elements.
Yeah, that poor boundary, giving a credit card to your mother without telling your husband. Hey, I gave a credit card to my mother-in-law, and by the way, I'm already running up credit as fast as I can here. Oh, your poor husband. Yeah.
That I want you as a person to overcome, because money's just the symptom. This $85,000 in credit card debt is a symptom of other things going on within you.
Yes, and thank you to the ever so lovely Rachel Cruz. Yeah, it's in her. This is not her husband's fault. This is not her husband's fault. When people have personal addictions, and I'm glad to hear her. I've not heard anyone say it is her husband's fault. It's not. So if anyone's thinking it's her husband's fault, I don't care. It's not her husband's fault. When someone has an addiction, that's on them. That addiction is on them, 100%.
And until that's fixed and until that's addressed, I mean, really with a good counselor and a therapist, are you going to heal from that, be aware of that, and be able to make different decisions day in and day out? And I wish there was an easy button. But it's going to be a season for you guys, a season of financially paying this back, whatever that looks like, and however you guys decide within your marriage. But it's also going to be a season of rebuilding trust, because trust will be broken. It's been broken.
Well, the problem is that the trust has been broken for the entire marriage. Remember, 20 years ago, they did this because she had done it before. So their entire marriage has been like this. So where do you start building trust? And now you're looking at retirement. This is the type of wife who will have her husband thinking they're all set to go for retirement. She goes, oh, honey, here's $100,000 of debt we need to take care of. The trust is gone.
And hard conversations, it's going to be painful, but it is the way to healing, Becky.
And she needs to accept that he may choose to call the relationship done. He doesn't need this.
That is the way to heal. It is not to hold this and try to fix it yourself.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're in this, and
I'm sorry you're in it, but it was by your doing. It was by your hand. I'm sorry you didn't take more work and effort to control your addiction. I'm also sorry perhaps you didn't feel that you could go to him and say, hey, I'm $5,000 in credit card debt, or $10,000, or 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Do you see how long this has gone? See how long this has gone? Yeah. Nowhere from 0 to 85 did she ever go to him. This to me is not recoverable, because it would be the second incident. And if I added up all the years together, this has been around the entire time. So what do they say in Sandy is doing the same thing and expecting a different result? So what does she want her husband to do? The same thing, help pay off the debt, expect a different result. So now they're 10 years away from retirement and he finds out they're broke. If this husband wants to retire with any sort of financial security, if the husband is a saver, he needs a woman who is also a saver. He needs a woman that respects that boundary. And she may respect it, but the problem is she has an addiction that is overriding it. I would not expect a man to be interested in me if I were out spending money behind his back. And I'm not talking on little stuff, Okay, I went and bought a comforter for $75 and I'm just going to kind of sneak that in the house. Okay, I can deal with that. Okay? Or he bought a new fishing pole that was $100. Okay, whatever. Those things don't financially break us so long as our budget can afford that. But when you start talking in the thousands, okay, and you are spending this type of money, that's a problem.
I know there's probably so much shame and guilt and regret that you have. But moving forward, for you to be able to take that weight off, healing has to happen. And
part of that healing may be that she needs to be a divorced woman living on her own and till she figures this out. And then maybe for the next husband, she'll be in a better place.
Can't happen on your own. It really can't. We have to have other people around us, and I think good professionals as well.
And long term, we have to get your husband back to husband mode instead of roommate mode.
And he may not want to be husband mode anymore. He may say, I'm over it. And he would have that right. Oh, there's Alexa.
One of the best parts of marriage and one of the hardest parts is having the accountability of a spouse. And I think that could have helped a lot of this if there was transparency in the finances and him saying, hey, you need to cut up that card. Remember, we don't use that anymore. We got burnt. We went through bankruptcy 20 years ago. We don't want that to happen again. And
addictions are so incredibly selfish. It is the ultimate of selfish. And you're looking at someone who's been there. Addictions are the ultimate of selfish behavior in a relationship, because that addiction is going to override any healthy thing that could have come from the relationship or that could be built in the relationship. Addictions are incredibly selfish.
And so I think you need accountability. Right now, it may not be your husband because there's already a lack of trust there, but we need accountability from other people. You've been doing this alone and keeping this secret. And how old are you?
I'm 50.
Whoa. Oh, jeez. I was hoping she'd be like, 40, maybe even 45, 50. So they should be on a retirement track, shouldn't they, family? Should they not be on a retirement track? So husband can retire at 67, maybe even earlier. And what does he have? The husband is smart. He's going, I'm with someone who's never going to allow me to retire. I need to get the hell out. If I were the husband and he has the money to pay off this debt, I'd pay off the debt. I would file for divorce and I would start over. I don't say that easily. And I know it seems like I probably say that a lot on this channel, but it's because some of these calls that come in, the writing is on the wall. You see the pattern. What is it? I just said it's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So is he going to do this again for a third time? This is going to be the second time he's paid it off and they've dealt with her. Is he willing to do it for a third time at 65, 70 years old? No. She needs to accept that this is most likely the end of the relationship. She's 50. That's a big deal. You're supposed to be well into retirement plan, and I was well into adjusting my budget, okay? Because my ex left me when I was about 47. Okay, so by the time I was 50, I was well into let's get that a budget readjusted. Let's start, figuring out how we're going to become a no debt or, as little debt as possible household of one. She's 50, trying to figure out how to hide $85,000 from her spouse. This is how people retire broke.
You're 50.
So you have a lot of years left, Becky. I'm like, you have a whole second part of life.
She had a whole 15 years and she effed that one up. She effed up the years before that. So she got 15 years to do it all over again. Now when she calls in, it'll be, I'm 65 years old and I'm broke. No. Is that a risk a husband wants to take on a wife? Is that a risk he wants to take on? Even if he makes good income. How many calls, family, have we heard, where one of the spouses makes a great income? But the problem is it's all being squandered away by one or both parties. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. So How many of you out there in viewer land would be like, yeah, I'm 50 years old. I've got a wife who's done this, or a husband who's done this all over again. I'm good for a third round. How about you?
Messed up big. One behind my wife's back, racked up $26K in credit card debt in 4 months. Pregnant wife, I should say, and now she's filing for divorce.
What did you jack up 26K on?
Pokemon cards. Trying to buy a bunch and then sell them online, which didn't work out.
Oh, the tea! Oh, family, the tea is starting right out tonight. This just ran about 6 days ago, so it's Monday this evening. Okay, this just ran like 6 days ago, not even a week ago, and we got a grown man trying to sell Pokemon cards to make a buck behind his pregnant wife's back. Sometimes these stories just start right out, don't they? Now she wants to divorce him. We got more to say, but let us continue on. I'm just holding my breath.
Oh, okay. All right.
She's filing for divorce.
Part of me says good for her. But before we totally jump, okay, I mean, maybe there's more, but all the Ramsey shows I've done of people who have hidden debt, I will attach one of them at the end of this video. I'll pick a favorite. We got lots of them. Spouses hiding debt.
Yes, she already filed and...
Sounds like things were pretty rocky before.
Yeah, it's not because of these Pokemon cards. That was just the final straw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. We have 3 boys together, 2 to 5, and our first girl on the way. She's 15 weeks pregnant.
So what went on before this? What were the straws before this? How have you been behaving?
Angry, short, not pleasant at all to be around. To be honest.
I'm not a parent, okay, but I have wondered, and maybe this gives me some insight. Why is it that so many people seem to split up right after the baby is born? Okay, like baby is born and the couple splits up and decides they don't want to be together. And I always think to myself, didn't you know that 9 months ago before you had another child? This gives me insight. This gives me great insight as to why it may happen. And just like they said, folks, the marriage was already bad before the Pokemon cards came. All right, the marriage was already on the rocks. And with $26,000 worth of hidden debt, this wasn't like, hey, honey, let's us both go together and skip down the aisle and get Pokemon cards. And they both agreed to basically gamble their money on it. How many stories, family, have we heard over and over where somebody is hiding debt from the other? And once that, what they call financial infidelity, as Dave calls it, once that financial infidelity is broken, how do you get it back? Me thinks that part of it is going to depend upon how what's the word? How the home situation is as far as how many kids they have. In other words, she's pregnant. So that kind of changes, to a certain degree, maybe a big degree, okay, her ability to just up and leave. This is where people can really feel trapped in a relationship if you're not careful. Because let's say they didn't have children and this happened. They could just split up. She could just say, I'm out, I'm gone. But now give me 1 kid, give me 2 kids, give me, I think he said 2, 3 kids and a pregnancy on top of it. I can't remember if the pregnancy is the 3rd kid or the 2nd kid. But either way, they've got at least 3 kids. Now you stack all of that on top of it. The innocent spouse has a much greater chance of being victimized. Oh, this is just a horrible situation. Absolutely horrible. But the marriage was bad before the Pokemon cards came. And a part of me wonders, has he gambled? I understand it's not gambling at a casino, but come on, you're trying to make a bet with your money one way or another. So as far as I see it, it's gambling, okay? Even though it may not be a traditional slot machine. What are the odds that he's done this before? That he's done this with their money before? Because let's face it, a pregnant woman who's already got 2 or 3 kids, I can't remember how many kids he said they had, okay? He's already got a couple of kids, and these are things that under the age of 5, like a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. I also wonder if perhaps this other, the newborn to-be kid, not blaming the children. We never blame the children, but we do look at the facts. I sometimes wonder if this is one of those save the marriage babies. And the only reason I say that is when people have another child, or they have a child, when they know the relationship is already bad, me tends to lean towards thinking that perhaps someone thought, well, if we just have a child, it might bring him or her back again. And from the calls that we've done, my personal experience, even though, like I said, I've never been pregnant, okay? But, I think we all do things that we might not normally do. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to involve being pregnant, okay? It can be other compromises that we go, you know what? We're trying to save a relationship and we're doing everything we possibly can and it's just not working. So I'm thinking he might have a history of doing this before, because for her to, as he said, she's already filed divorce. Yeah, there's a history somewhere of messing up with money or something like that.
Well, I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, if you were to put her shoes on for a minute, what do you think regarding this purchase that she's angry about?
The deceit, the betrayal.
Good. That's good self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
It's my experience, having been a former shopaholic, that believe it or not, our condition doesn't mean we're not self-aware. I mean, it's great that you can admit it. Yes, I can admit that I was a shopaholic in my early 20s, which I was. A very severe shopaholic, all right? About 10 years of hell there, okay? So the ability to admit it is great. That's wonderful. But the problem is admission alone, as any shopaholic, gambleaholic, addict of any sort can tell you. The admission alone isn't enough. And believe it or not, a lot of people with some sort of bad behavior, okay, like some sort of addiction, we have probably practiced it a lot, admitting it and being self-aware. So while I congratulate him on the self-awareness coming from my own personal experience, that doesn't hold as much weight as it might have in the past. So, I mean, it's wonderful he's self-aware. But to someone like me, it just doesn't mean that much. He's done this before. This isn't his first time at the rodeo.
Yeah, in our world, we call this financial infidelity. Because it's you busted the trust almost as if you slept with someone.
I'd almost rather have you sleep with someone than lose $26,000.
Yeah.
That's the way it feels. It's the same part of the brain that you damaged.
Yeah.
People, this is how you retire broke. This is how you wind up at 50 years old with not 2 pennies to put together. And so now what she's going to have to do is she's filing for divorce, but let's say they choose to stay together. Remember, I hear these calls for the first time with you. I go based on the title, okay? But let's say he's able to resurrect this. Here's why I would not resurrect it. You're going to have to clean up behind him for the rest of your natural life. And as a viewer parlor would say on this channel, she's going to have to pull them credit reports for the rest of her life. Because someone like this guy, I don't care how much self-awareness he has, how many aholics of any sort, gambleaholic, shopaholic, if it ends in aholic, okay, have apologized. Yes, I am self-aware. I see the light. I see the damage I have done. And then they go right back into it. So my hunch is if she's like, I'm out and I'm divorcing, and I think he said she's already filed, she has seen this or these type of pattern of behavior. She's like, I can't do this. And this is why I say I believe the third child was probably the save the marriage child. I mean, come on, a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn, these behaviors that her husband has, who's this? This is Kyle in Salt Lake City, Utah. These behaviors that Kyle is displaying to what may be now his ex-wife, he's displayed it before and she doesn't want to stick around. It's just unfortunate they've got 3 kids to deal with at the same time.
That's what's going on. And so that's why it pushed her over the top. And then, so the net of the thing is, have you been able to sell the Pokemon cards yet?
No, I'm going here in a few. I'm just getting everything together so I can take it to one of the local shops here in Salt Lake to sell and pay back some part of this debt.
Grown men with a pregnant wife and 2 kids should not be hawking Pokemon cards as a way to make money.
What do you think they're going to bring?
I'll be lucky, honestly, if I probably get $5,000.
Dang, that sucks. $5,000. You know, the person you marry, if you're not careful, man, they can do you a lot of financial damage. They can do you a world of hurt. And if he really does have a betting type, tendencies, now he's going to be even more depressed, assuming this divorce goes through, from what it sounds like, okay? Assuming this divorce goes through, that could just actually accelerate his already addictive trading, whatever behavior.
How did you mess this up that bad? I'm confused.
So what had happened was I was trying to build a platform on social media. So I built an Instagram account where you buy followers, and I paid a lot of money on giveaways on an app called Whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I really racked up the debt, was buying these expensive giveaways to try to get people to come.
Okay, so you didn't really buy $26,000 worth of Pokemon. You really spent some of this money on the website.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything on social media sounds so simple. So he was trying, I think he said he was trying to buy followers or something. All right. I don't want to get too far off the road that we're on, but as you get to understand this channel, sometimes we take a fork in that road. We're taking a fork now, okay? Now, here's the thing. Social media will lead you to believe that everything is easy. Take some houses, it's easy to flip. Heck, Pokemon cards, it's easy. Start a YouTube channel. I can't tell you the countless numbers of YouTube thumbnails I have seen that say things like this. Start a YouTube channel, get yourself 1,000 subscribers and monetized in all of, 24 hours, 5 days a week, whatever. I've been on YouTube for almost half a decade now, and I don't even count the first 2 years, so we'll make it 3 years, okay? Because I'm not going to count the first 2 years I was an exercise channel. I'm still big into fitness, I just don't film it anymore. So looking at the last 3 years, it took me, if you really want to get down to it, okay, it took me half a decade to reach 100,000 subscribers. Half a decade. I started this when I was 52. Nowhere on any YouTube thumbnail are you going to read, spend half a decade working 15 hours a week and you might reach 100,000 subscribers. And I think the statistical odds for it, according to 2024, if what I read is correct, and I pretty much vet a few different sources, including YouTube, and that is you have less than a 1% chance of reaching 100,000 subscribers and becoming monetized. That's where you can make a little bit of money off of Google AdSense, or you can make a lot of money. Less than 1% chance. See, thumbnails like that don't sell, so people don't put things up like that. But this dude here, probably, as he said, he saw on social media, well, it's really easy, you just build a website, buy some followers. No, it doesn't work that way, people. And no, you cannot buy your way through subscribers. You cannot buy your way through followers. And for those of you who are thinking of doing that to get your 100,000 fast, YouTube checks for that as well. Yes, they do. If they find that you have bought subscribers, bought your followers, okay, they're not going to accept. They're not going to accept you even if you do get to 100,000. A lot of people might be surprised. No, there are a lot of channels on YouTube that have 100,000 subscribers, but they're not monetized. So when this guy follows, back onto track again, see, but we take these little educational side roads, all right? That's just what we do on this channel. But this guy, as he said, he's buying subscribers, buying followers, trying to so-called flip really fast. Don't believe anything that you hear on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, I don't care what it is. Nothing's fast. Nothing is fast. Very few can actually get there very fast. So he fell into it. like I said, grown men with pregnant wife and 2 kids shouldn't be wheeling and dealing in Pokemon cards.
Trying to build a false front. Yeah.
Yes.
Look like you're bigger than you really are. Yeah.
100%.
Which, I'm sorry to the lovely Jade, which is why a lot of people will try to buy subscribers. They'll try to buy followers, okay, to get their accounts. I don't care if it's a YouTube account, whatever. They buy them because they're trying to look bigger than what they really are. And, you know, I was recently approved for the silver play button. And let me tell you something. My account was vetted forward and backwards. I guarantee it to you, because they're trying to figure out how this school teacher, well, no, not I'm a school teacher, but how this account, you know, it took me 5 years basically, folks, to get to 1,800 subscribers. 5 years. I started this channel at 52, and it was only in June 2024 I finally hit 1,000 subscribers. And I put up material pretty regularly, especially when the end of 2023 hit, okay? Because I was like, decided I need to do something with this channel, either make it work or give it up, one or the other. And thank you to my subscribers for encouraging me to stay. I couldn't have done it without you. But really, that you can, I guarantee it to you, they vetted my channel, because to date I've gained 100,000 subscribers in 5 months. So yeah, I know for a fact they vetted my channel to see did I buy stuff, did I do what this guy here is doing. And a lot of people try to do it, and it fails, and it will fail you every time. And I was very well aware of it, so I kept a clean nose, and I got approved for it. Took them about a week to get through it. But when you try to flip money like this, it doesn't work, because you're believing a dream. That's really what this is. You're believing the dream, and you are looking for something. Chances are they're in debt already, and he was looking for a quick fix to get them out of debt. I hope, I know Dave probably won't, okay, but I would like to know their financial situation before this, because if their marriage was already stressed and on the rocks, it tells me that part of that stress was financial, and he was doing this to try to get out of it. It never works. Nothing goes fast on social media. Basically, he was just a big sucker. So whomever he paid to try to look, as Dave said, bigger than what he really is, they were laughing all the way to the bank.
Did you tell her any part of this and she said don't do it and you did it anyway, or you just kind of did it all?
Yes, I started we were at $4,000, and that's what she knew at 4,500. Mm-hmm. And then I went and continued. As things were already going a rocky path, I felt I self-indulged in myself, and went all in and on myself out of selfish greed and lust for fame that wasn't real.
Are you in counseling?
I am. Yeah, she went with me to my today to my appointment.
Okay,
and
that's good.
And remember, this was just 6 days ago, so he's in counseling. All right, this is current.
Yeah, that's point blank.
I say that because you sound like you're working through this mentally. At least it sounds like it in this very short call. Has she said anything to the effect of, here's what I need to see in order to stay with you, or has she just said that's it?
She did. I looked up a video from you guys. I saw I came across your number last night, a financial infidelity. She used that word. And I told her, I said, look, I know I'm going to be served papers tomorrow, next day. So if there's even a chance you'll stay with me, I would burn all these cards right now, work overtime, and do whatever it takes.
To me, if he has shown this type of addiction, though, and we can call it an addiction, people can get addicted to stuff like this. No, I'd be done. Now, I'm not going to say whether or not I think he's got a chance. I mean, maybe she'll change her mind, but the greater problem that I see is, does she want to spend her life pulling credit reports every 2 weeks? Is that really what she wants to do? She's got 3 kids to raise. Or would it be better just to sever the ties and say, hey, you're responsible for paying child support. Everything else you do to your life, let that affect you and maybe the next woman you choose to be with. This is an ongoing problem. This is not their first rodeo of a big marital problem.
Wow. What'd she say to that?
She said, well, I want to go to a therapist appointment.
Good.
And the therapist said, why should she stay with you? I said, logically, she shouldn't. I said, she has no room to stand on that she should. And I said, but if there's even a chance, even if in the end, it's worth it to give a chance to my family.
So let me give you a parallel. We're not counselors. Dr. John Deloney is our counselor, but we work with people in these situations and have for 30 years so much that the parallel she's looking for, I'll tell you what, go pick up this book by Dr. Henry Cloud. It's called Trust. Trust. That's what this whole call is about. Broken trust. And in his book, he talks about how to build trust and how to rebuild trust when trust has been broken. Also recommend it for your wife. Okay. Because it'll give her it'll give her the correct things, if she's willing, to demand of you that are the right things to demand of you.
See, and that's the problem that I have. Now you get to go into one, partner is the parent and the other's the child. And I'm not saying that, a couple who have problems, can't seek therapy and all of that stuff. But I think if the marriage is bad enough, like if this was just a first time incident, okay, maybe. But this is they have ongoing marital issues. So what winds up happening is you wind up having good cop, bad cop, or child to adult to child behavior with your spouse. And you've heard me say it before. Family, I think it's incredibly unattractive. I don't want to treat you like you're my child. I want a man in the house. I don't want someone to have to go, okay, now, these are the criteria that you have to have if you want me to stay. I don't want to go through that. Maybe it's my age. Maybe that's part of it. At 57, I'm like, you know what? I'm so over that. I don't want to do that with someone. So really, to me, it would really matter on how many times have we gone through this sludge, and do I want to go through this sludge one more time? Because when you wind up having that, one person in the relationship is the child and the other one's the adult, it kills the romance. Forget the trust even to some extent. Okay, yeah, I can rebuild trust with you, I guess. I guess, all right? What I can't rebuild with you is the romance. And I'm not saying we live in I'm not one of those romantic people that, what is it? I live on a little cloud. No, but I mean, it kills the you are my husband, I am your wife relationship. And it waters it down to, I need to lay out stipulations, what you're going to have to be with me. And I just find it so unattractive enough to me that I wouldn't want to be in a relationship like that. And without going too much into, I like to keep my past relationships kind of private, but I mean, I've done that before. I've done the cops and robbers and let's chase each other around. Forget it. I am so done and over it. I would rather just cut the umbilical cord and say, you go your way. It kills the romance. It kills the relationship of husband, wife, Maybe, I hope I'm explaining it right. It's not that you can't rebuild the trust. You can rebuild it. Great. I can trust you again. But will I ever think of you again as the head of the household? I mean, she's talking to the freaking head of the household. Yes, okay, I'm probably, that I don't have a problem with thinking of a guy as the head of the household. That doesn't bother me. Okay? So, but, I mean, this is your head of the household, for God's sakes. You're having to manage him. There's something wrong with that. I'm a little bit traditionalist, okay? Just ever so slight. All right? Probably a little more than my parents actually realize, okay? But he's the head of the household. If I have to manage the head of the household, it's not attractive.
Okay? And it should sound something like this. The way you rebuild trust is over a period of time, you establish a pattern of never repeating the major offense here, and you already told me what the major offense here was. It wasn't buying on things on the internet. It wasn't Pokemon cards. It was lying.
He's done it before. I think the Pokemon cards might even not be the biggest of the problem. Somewhere or another, there is a history in this relationship. I wish Dave would dig into that a little bit, because a pregnant woman with 2 kids doesn't just up and leave and say, I'm filing for a divorce, the end. But a pregnant woman with 2 kids who has seen this play out over and over, who's heard the apologies over and over, okay, who has seen this over and over, she would be the type to say, I'm out. Same thing with a guy. Okay, a guy who has a wife that keeps spending, keeps doing the things behind his back. Okay, destroying the financial trust or whatever the trust is. Okay, if after a while you just go, I'm over it.
Yeah.
That was the major offense. And so if she enters back into this, if she were my daughter or my little sister, I would tell her to give you a shot, but you get one strike.
Yeah.
Never again.
He's already used the strike, Dave. That's why she's filing for divorce.
Do you lie? You are so unbelievably honest that it's awkward all the time around your house. Do these jeans make me look fat? Yes. You have to tell the truth all the time.
This gets old. It gets exhausting. Having to replace the head of the household because you can't do your job. I say she's 68. She hasn't built the character of 68 to be trustworthy. I am not the one who wants to stick around until my 70s and 80s. Will you go through your untrustworthy money stage to find out if you ever become trustworthy? Maybe in my mid 80s you'll become trustworthy.
Well, I'm a 75-year-old senior with a 68-year-old wife. And I found a month and a half ago that I was $53,000 in debt on credit cards. I thought I was debt-free for quite a while now. And I come to find out that there was money being put against the credit cards from casinos mostly for the last 5 years. Anyway, right now I'm lined up to borrow $80,000 at a credit union at 6.625%, 30-year amortization, but it's a balloon payment. And the reason I went with that is because I can pay different amounts at different times because I make $30,000 to $50,000 extra approximately every year over our retirement. Our retirement income is $57.35 a month.
Who racked up the credit card bills? Your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to stop here. Wow, this just ran about 5 hours ago today, family. Okay, about 5 hours ago. And I have to be honest, when I saw the title, I pretty much ran home from work, okay, to see this. Now, here's the thing. He is 75 years old. Now, he has just taken out a 30-year amortization loan. 85, 95, 105. Part of me goes, why even bother? And I know this show is really against bankruptcy. I would bankrupt this thing in 2 seconds. Now, as you know, I'm listening to this for the first time with you, okay? So I'm not kidding. I literally, pretty much ran home because I was like, I just can't believe this. And it says here by the title, my wife hid $53,000 of debt and left me. So I'm thinking that perhaps a divorce is being in the works here. Can you imagine being 75 years old and you think you are debt free, to find out you're anything but debt free and it appears she has a gambling problem? Now, I would file bankrupt and be grateful that this was credit card debt, and I'd leave her, because someone like this, I mean, again, you're 75, so that may not be as easy. I don't know what the medical conditions and stuff, and the amount of money that they make between both of them, because I think he said our retirement income, I think he said is around $5,700 a month, if I'm correct. But between each of them, if you were to split that in half, if they were to divorce, assuming that it was split in half, that'd be like $2,500 each on retirement, and you're not going to even be able to pay rent on that, assuming that they'd be renters and not homeowners. This is a nightmare situation. It is the type of situation that I pray that I'm never in. But as we know, if you pull those credit reports, as our longtime viewer Parlor says, and I, guys, for those of us that have watched this channel for a long time,
when I first started this channel, and it became a money channel about 3 years ago, okay, one of my longtime viewers, Parlor, was like, he gave me the great suggestion because I didn't even think of it. And he's like, pull the credit reports. So this tells me that this guy, what's his name? Tommy in Reno, Nevada. He thinks he's debt free for the last 5 years. They never pulled the credit reports. They never did a credit check. And here's the thing. Credit reports don't always have to be pulled just because I don't trust you. Okay. As a matter of fact, credit reports should be pulled to make sure that the relationship is in good financial standing. No one's, tapped into your account or anything like that. By the way, if anyone ever does break into your credit card, so to speak, you only have about 30 days to report it. So I'm checking my credit cards all the time. So he's sitting there at the age of 70, probably just recently retired, and thinks he's all debt free, but he doesn't do any sweeping. That those constant sweeps have to be made to make sure that your financial house is clean. I could not be married to her after this, but again, because of their age, we don't know what their medical sensitivities are like and stuff. It may not be just so easy to get divorced, but dang, if this isn't drawing the short straw in the spouse that you got.
And you didn't know about it?
I wasn't smart enough to keep my nose in the books, and I trusted her 100%.
And how many times have we heard this, folks? I didn't put my nose into the books. I think that's what he said. I didn't, and I trusted them totally. You cannot do that. You don't know you have to know what's going on in the background. Look, I could be married and I would absolutely take care of the books, but I want my partner to know what's going on. Hey, honey, here's the records for, these are the bills that are paid this month. Here's our balance. You have access to all, passcodes, everything. Your financial life has to be an open book. And he basically says, I just trusted her. And so I just left it. If we have learned nothing from all these calls that we have listened to, the one thing that I have taken away, you cannot leave all the finances to one person to shoulder all the responsibility, regardless of the surrounding situation, regardless whether she has a shopping addiction, gambling addiction, regardless whether, maybe Tommy was overspending. You don't know the circumstances that are triggering the overspending. Maybe maybe Tommy's wife has felt out of control, with being able to handle the stress of handling all the books. And maybe she didn't feel like she could go to him and say, I need help. We don't know what Tommy's like. We can say he's a victim on the surface of the call, but maybe, and again, it's just a recommendation, a suggestion, maybe she wanted help with the books, didn't know how to ask him, and so it stresses her, it triggers overspending, it triggers addiction. In other words, leaving the books to one person to financially solve all the problems and deal with all that stress, well, you go tiptoeing off into the tulips, that might actually trigger a financial response that we don't want. There is absolutely no way I would leave anyone to do the books without me knowing exactly what's going on, or vice versa. And if nothing else, look at the age they're at. What would happen if she passed away? Does he even know how to find the books? I really hope he's not divorcing. I hope maybe that's a typo, because it says here, my wife has been hiding debt. Okay. And then it says, and left me.
How long have you guys been married?
13 years. It's my second marriage.
Oh, so this is a late marriage. 13 years? Oh my goodness. So they didn't marry until they were 60s. Oh, geez, have we learned nothing? So if he's 75, that got married at 65. So he got married in his early 60s. Have you not learned the money lessons by then? I mean, I'm 57, almost going to be 58 this summer. Okay, so I'll be 58 this summer. And I think to myself, my goodness, what financial lessons have I learned? It's his second marriage, and he learned nothing financially from marriage number one. If it's possible for us to jump in and assume, is it possible he was like this with his first marriage also? That he just simply left the woman to do the books and she felt overburdened? I'm not excusing her gambling, the wife's gambling addiction. Okay? Saying, well, Tommy, the caller in Reno, Nevada, caused her gambling addiction. Not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is when finances can be very, very stressful, as we all know. You're looking at someone with 2 bankruptcies, okay? So finances can obviously stress people out. And when people don't feel like they have a sounding board or a partner to work with in those finances, you just don't know what type of stresses might be triggered. Now, what would be interesting to know, did he know she was a gambleaholic before they married? And if he did know, then for gosh sakes, he should not have left her to do the books.
Okay. And so approximately half the time you've been married, she's been lying to you.
Yes.
Because she has a gambling problem.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you described to me how you're going to try to fix and get out of this. What about stopping the problem?
Wait, he's going to try to get out of this with this, what is a 30-year balloon mortgage? I'm not really familiar with balloon mortgages, okay? I'm really not that familiar with them. So, but he's 75. Like I say, he's going to be 105. What's the point? Divorce her. File bankruptcy on your portion of the divorce. Even if she doesn't want to file bankruptcy, I would pursue divorce, get those split in half or whatever the state requires, and I would go bankrupt on it and live my life in peace.
What are we doing about our gambling problem?
If she is 68 years old, I don't think we're doing jack about the gambling problem. She's 68. No disrespect, of course, to Mr. Ramsey, but come on, she's 68. You ain't got it figured out. By 68, your addictions, you're not going to get it figured out. You haven't figured out self-control, responsibility, no harm to your partner, financially. In other words, you haven't figured this out 68. I can tell you this, if I'm 75 and my spouse is 68, I am too freaking old to help you solve your problems that you have not figured out over the last 6, almost 7 decades. Does there come a point when you're just simply too tired to carry on someone's problems like that? I think it happens, yes. We work with each other over the little things, that's just a constant part of relationships. We get that. But it would be like me, here at 58, let's tack on 10 more years, and I'm still a shopping addict. I'm not one now. I was one in my 20s, okay? For those who are new to this channel, all right? I was a serious shopping addict in my 20s, all right? To an extent that I can't even talk about on social media, okay? My closest friends know, of course. But I was just a really serious shopping addict. And could you imagine me 10 years older than I am right now, and I'm still trying to sort out, do I really expect a spouse to deal with it at that point? I wouldn't even expect someone to deal with me at this point if I hadn't solved it. So when Dave says, well, what are we going to do about it? What my response is? I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to divorce her. I'm going to file bankruptcy on everything that I am responsible for, and I'm going to live the rest of my life, like I said, in peace. You cannot help someone who has not figured out how to help themselves, and they are 68 years old.
Well, she left me because she knew I'd be really upset, and she went to her mother. So she says she's getting counseling every week, but I'm not sure it's for the gambling problem.
What do you think it's for?
She's going to a Christian counselor, and I'm not sure she's admitting that she has a gambling problem yet.
I think sometimes people, now, no, don't get me wrong, I was raised Methodist, all that stuff, okay? But I think at times people put a little too much faith on religion in the sense of, well, if I go to, something like, if I marry a Christian person, and if I lean on the Christian or whatever your religious belief is, for some people, I feel as though that gives them an excuse to not have to work internally on themselves. I've said to you before, we all know somebody, okay, at least most of us do, that will go, well, God's just going to take care of it. Well, God can't do it without you having the desire to fix it and doing the hard work. God can give you, faith, strength, motivation, but you got to do the hard work.
Well, it's good that she's in counseling. I'm sure if it's a great counselor, they can get to the core of what's going on.
She's 68. What have they not gotten to the core of it yet? See, I'm looking at this from, I won't say, end of life, because heck, I'm only 10 years from 68. But we are at the, 58. I'm not the spring chicken, okay? I would hope by this point in my 50s and my 60s, definitely in my 60s, I will have sorted out the need to rely on other people to fix my problems. And her running off to her mother's really tells you just how strong, okay, of a woman he married. She ran off to her mother's house because she couldn't face her husband. And they've only been married 13 years. This tells me that he did not vet her very well, perhaps, when he decided to marry her.
Right.
But she has not had contact with you?
No, we have contact every day now.
Okay.
And we plan to get together again. She's just been kind of dragging her feet as to when.
Oh. Well, the good news is she's looking for help, and then it's up to you and her to decide together what the boundaries are going forward and what the marriage needs to look like going forward.
He's 75 years old. I mean, no disrespect, but, maybe he'll live to 100. God bless him if he does. And God bless it more if she winds up following him to that same age. But it's kind of like sitting and trying to figure out at 75 how you want to fix a problem that someone else has had for God knows how many years. He says, what was it? That she ran up gambling debt the last 5 years. This was not the first time she gambled. It's not. I have a hard time believing, and I could be wrong, and I reserve room to be wrong. I have a hard time believing that someone just automatically picks up a gambling addiction in their 60s. Not saying it's not possible. But I suspect she had the addiction before, even if it kind of came in and out, creeped in and out over the years. This is something that was already in existence.
Right.
Now, these cards, I assume they're in both of your names.
Yes, they are.
Okay. And you guys have, you don't have any money saved in retirement?
One card is just in her name that was kind of hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And the others are in both our names.
Yeah. Do you have any money saved in your nest egg?
Not very much. I have a $10,000 IRA, and I have a $5,000 in checking right now. And my wife has a little IRA, and she won't tell me how much is in it, but I don't think it's more than 50.
And we want to go to counseling over this. Gambleaholics don't typically save money. Shopaholics, addicts, they typically don't save money. And she's not going to tell you how much is in her IRA because it's probably an embarrassingly small amount. What are we fixing? I mean, God love Jade. Jade will always live for the bright side. God love her, okay? But come on. Really? She's not going to tell you what's in the IRA because there's nothing in there. So all the way up to the end, this woman is going to be deceitful and hide the money. All the way to the end. Yeah, she may be at mother's house praying at church with the pastor, trying to reinvent herself, but she's obviously not willing to open the books. Pull those credit reports. Pull those credit reports.
Ooh.
50,000?
50,000, yes.
Didn't you say that was how much is on the credit cards?
Yes, about 53.
Okay. I think I see a plan evolving here.
The balance will be zero.
I've been drawing out of that without telling me, too. I mean, there's some dishonesty here.
Yeah.
Some massive. You're 75 years old. You don't want to go to work at Walmart till you're 80, and you got somebody draining all your money. See, people? That's why I tell you. This is how you get with someone that screws you over financially. Sometimes I think being with someone who is financially responsible is the luck of the draw. I mean, part of it is vetting. You can vet, okay? And we should. But I think part of it is also simply the luck of the draw on who you get.
Well, yeah, obviously a lot. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't have access to her IRA.
Yeah.
Which I should.
The 5,700.
Well, if it's an IRA, I could be wrong, but isn't that one of those accounts where if you're married, she can't like close or something without his signature on it. Here's the bottom line. Tommy, the caller, Tommy wants no financial responsibility. So almost in some ways, I feel like this is a mutual, we screwed each other over financially. One can't screw the other one over without the other person's permission. So Tommy had to give his wife permission to go ahead and take all the reins to run the money. Because if Tommy hadn't given his wife to do such permission, then Tommy would have pulled credit reports. Tommy would be very involved in where the money's coming and going, what is being spent. So Tommy, not that we're blaming the victim, but in some ways we have to ask ourselves, is there really a victim when something like this happens? I mean, is there really a victim?
$135 you're getting every month. Is that Social Security? What is that?
It's our 2 Social Securities, and I'm a retired teacher.
Okay.
Why would you borrow $30,000 more than you need? You said you were going to borrow $80,000.
I finished. We've been full-time RVers for quite a while, but I finished a 1-bedroom house last summer, and we finally moved into it, and I'm trying to finish it off completely, and I need about another $30,000 to put the final touches on it.
See, now we're gonna, before I hear what they have to say, before I have to hear what the lovely Jade and Mr. Ramsey have to say, you see the problem? Remember I said to you, not too long ago, within the last 20 minutes, I said to you, is it possible that she has tried to talk to him, but he can be, he could be stubborn, and he's expecting her to solve all the money issues. I mean, look at the debt he's in, and he's just found out he's $50,000 in the hole, okay, because of his wife's addiction, and he says, you know what, I need another $30,000 anyways. Okay. I'm not saying that what his wife did was right, but I am beginning to see how the relationship works financially. He wants to spend something, so he does it. It's been his wife's job to make sure that money was available. Now that he knows the money is not available, he's just going to go ahead and borrow it. But let's also let's think about it another way. Let's say the gambling money wasn't spent. Okay, so let's just take away, the $53,000 respectively that she spent. Let's say that was never spent. Put that aside, okay? He just took out a $35,000 loan to finish a house at 75 years old. And he says he has a teacher's pension. Me thinking it wasn't a full teaching career. Either that or she was a stay-at-home mom. In other words, her contribution, okay, because I know what my teacher pension is, and teacher pensions aren't bad if you have a full 30-year, 20, 25, 30 year. I'm going to say 25 to 30 years is what you really want, okay? I enter my 20th year this coming fall, okay? 2025, okay? So I'm thinking that if he had a full teacher pension, then what she was contributing, maybe she didn't work that much. One of them did not work very much. For the two of them combined to only have $5,300 during retirement. Whereas if he had a full teacher pension, and then let's say she had a full pension or whatever savings, I would almost think they'd have at least another 50% above that. Something like that. I'm hoping this makes sense. But this tells me that she didn't have a lot of money to bring to the table when they got married, and or he didn't teach very long, so his pension isn't very good. Because you can get a teacher pension in Florida, you can get a teacher pension, I think, on your 9th year. Yeah, they make you work a while to get it. You have to do 8 full years and then step foot on campus in your 9th year in Florida before you can get a teacher pension. But you're not going to get a very big pension, of course, because you have only done 8-9 years, but you will still get one.
I would not borrow this money.
No.
Essentially.
A round of applause for me. I wonder if my soundboard is going to pick up this round of applause. It might.
What you're doing is you're trying to borrow money to get out of debt, and that's impossible. You have to pay in order to get out of debt.
But it's not just borrowing money to get out of debt. He's borrowing money to finish off a house that he doesn't have the money to spend to begin with. Because remember, at the beginning of the call, they went through their money. They basically got nothing. He doesn't have $35,000 to finish off this house. So if I'm stressed out and I'm just listening to the call and she's been responsible for all the finances, part of me, like I said, I'm kind of led to believe that he basically said, this is what I want to do, make it happen. She can't make it happen. She gets stressed. I don't know. She becomes an addict. I don't know. Because I don't know the exact path of what created her addiction. But I am seeing how the finances work in the family, and he didn't seem any smarter at it than she is.
You have to use your money and pay off the bill.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do in this situation is, how do you eat an elephant a bite at a time? Priority number one is establishing what's going to happen with your relationship. And for your relationship to be brought back together, trust has to be reestablished, because there's been a lot of deception.
And how are you going to do that when somebody's 75? You haven't built the character. I say she's 68. She hasn't built the character of 68 to be trustworthy. I am not the one who wants to stick around until my 70s and 80s, where you go through your untrustworthy money stage to find out if you ever become trustworthy. Maybe in my mid 80s you'll become trustworthy. Not at this age. I won't even do it at this age of 58. I don't want to stick around to see if your money trustworthy. And I certainly don't want to do it at 75.
And so there's a path forward with you and the counselors where everybody comes clean. She comes clean as being a gambling addict, which she obviously is, and gets help for that. And a part of a normal restoration plan in this situation would be that she does not control money again.
And that's true. And I totally agree. But it's almost like you're picking the better of two evils. She's a gambaholic. We really don't want her controlling it. But he doesn't seem like he makes much better money decisions either. Just like I said, he's borrowing $80,000 because he wants this house finished off. Now, maybe the house has to be finished off because the drywall's not even up and they're looking at the floorboards or whatever. Okay, I get it. But I don't think that this project was well planned, because they clearly are having to borrow money for that. In other words, it's almost like you're picking the best of two people who seem to be financially incompetent, and you're just picking the one that's the least incompetent to decide who's going to run the budget. But they both kind of suck at the job.
For the next 3 or 4 years.
Oh, good. That puts him now at about 78, 79 years old.
That you control all of it, and if you're together, okay? Now, obviously, if you divorce, then that's a whole other thing. If you divorce as a part, if you come back together, we're going to find out what's in this IRA, and we're going to use it.
I wouldn't bank that there's a whole lot of money in the IRA.
Her $50,000 IRA, or whatever's left in it, is going to go towards this $50,000.
But look who you're asking to find out what's in it. Now, what are the chances a gambaholic has already spent it?